Chapter 20. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Zhu Jinyang and Yu Weiyun returned to their positions, they picked up their schoolbags and walked towards the door of the classroom. The two had just walked out of the classroom a few steps, when they met an acquaintance in the corridor. Zhu Jinyang stopped Yi Ronghua, didn't you finish the competition in the morning? Why did you come to school so soon? Yi Ronghua is the only son of the head of the Yi family. He asked for leave a few days ago to participate in a martial arts sanda competition. He just finished the last match this morning and won the championship. Seeing that it was Zhu Jinyang, the tall Yi Ronghua explained. There is something wrong with coming to school. Is my cousin Yi Panbai still in the classroom? Zhu Jinyang. When I came out just now, he was still in the position. Yi Ronghua. Then what about the transfer student Wei Lizho in your class? Zhu Jinyang was a little puzzled. He's here too, but what can you do with him? Yi Ronghua's fists were crackling. Look for this kid to settle the score. Zhu Jinyang's eyes flashed with schadenfreude, and he said to Yi Ronghua. Then you go to the classroom quickly, don't go late and find no one. Zhu Jinyang looked at the back of Yi Ronghua leaving in a hurry with some reluctance. It's a pity. If it wasn't for him and Yu Weiyun to have something to do later, he would definitely join in the fun. In the classroom, Yi Panbai was still struggling with his position. Should he take the initiative to take this step? But I always felt that if Wei Lizho took the initiative to find him, that Wei Lizho would laugh at him 9 out of 10. After packing his schoolbag, Wei Lizho said to Yu Yi. I'm leaving first, and I'll see if there is anyone in the class who hasn't formed a team yet. Yu Yiqing nodded slightly in response. Yi Panbai suddenly made up his mind, and was about to turn his head to call Wei Lizho, when there was a sudden bang at the back door of the classroom, and someone pushed it open. Wei Lizho. Come out for me. Everyone in the class looked at the back door for an instant. Wei Lizho raised his eyebrows, and walked towards the aggressive Yi Ronghua at the back door. I'm Wei Lizho, what's your business? Yi Ronghua put her arms around her chest and glanced at Wei Lizho. Fight with me. Today I want to let you know that our Yi family is not something you can bully casually. Yi Panbai hurried over and pulled Yi Ronghua's arm. Cousin, what are you doing? Yi Ronghua looked confident. Find the spot for you. Didn't you tell me before that you were bullied by Wei Lizho? You asked me to teach him a lesson when I came back from the competition. Yi Panbai suddenly realized. On the morning of the first day when Wei Lizho just transferred to another school to report, he really vomited bitterness to Yi Ronghua. Yi Panbai used to treat Yi Ronghua's cousin as a tree hole, and would confide in him about any grievances. After Yi Panbai finished scolding Wei Lizho that day, he felt much better, and he forgot about it afterwards. And after Yi Ronghua saw the message from Yi Panbai. Although he didn't reply because he was busy, he silently arranged the matter of helping Yi Panbai get back to the venue in his heart. After Wei Lizho listened to Yi Ronghua's words, he instantly remembered that on the first day of his report, Yi Panbai sternly told him that he wanted his cousin to clean up his affairs. Wei Lizho looked at Yi Panbai with disgust in his eyes. You are really a primary school student, and you actually called your cousin to support you. Wei Lizho did not expect Yi Panbai to be the cousin of another F in the novel. Although this F does not have many roles in the novel, Wei Lizho remembers that this person seems to be quite good at fighting. Yi Ronghua snorted heavily. He's my cousin. There's nothing wrong with me backing him up. Your skin is tense for me today, don't be so cowardly and pretend to be dizzy. It's you who have to hold on longer, lest you run away home in despair before I stretch my muscles. Wei Lizho twitched the corner of his mouth in disdain, with an indifferent expression on his face. Tell me, where do you want to fight? Whether it's the boys' toilet, or the alley behind the school, I will accompany you to the end. Wei Lizho is already familiar with such things as being approached to make an appointment for a fight. Yi Ronghua was stunned for a moment. What are you talking about that I want you and me to go to the Sanda Club to fight? Jiahai International School supports students to develop their extracurricular interests. There are many clubs founded by students in the school. After school is the time for students to participate in club activities. Yi Ronghua happens to be the president of the Sonda Club. Wei Liz Ho. Okay. Sonda is Sonda, and it happens to be protected by protective gear. I don't have to worry about paying for medical expenses or anything. Yi Ronghua was upset when he heard it, and the corners of his mouth curled up in disdain. It's quite loud. I think it's because I saved a lot of medical expenses. Yi Panbai saw that the two of them had already made an appointment to fight, so he hurriedly stopped Yi Ronghua. Brother, you should stop fighting. Yi Ronghua patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry, I will definitely not lose to this kid. The more anxious Yi Panbai became, the more uncouth his words became. No, why do you look so flustered? Yi Ronghua suddenly interrupted Yi Panbai. Looking at Yi Panbai's appearance, a guess suddenly flashed in his mind. Could it be that this kid is threatening you? Yi Ronghua suddenly felt that his guess was very reasonable, and he glared at Wei Liz Ho angrily. Go. Let's fight immediately. Wei Liz Ho. Let's go, it's not you who is moaning. Hurry up, don't delay my time to go home. While the two were talking, they were already striding towards the training room of the Sonda Club. Seeing this, many people also followed to join in the fun, and Yi Panbai also hurriedly chased after them. Yu Yiqing, who was sitting in his seat, saw that the classroom was empty for a moment, and he put his hand to his forehead silently. Where Wei Liz Ho is present, there always seems to be lively events happening non-stop. Yi Panbai hurried to catch up with Yi Ronghua, and Yi Panbai hurriedly said to him. Listen to my explanation. Yi Ronghua waved his hand at him. You don't need to say anything, I know it all. I won't let you suffer from being dumb. Yi Panbai was so angry that he jumped up. Yi Ronghua is an idiot. This is all a misunderstanding. Seeing that Yi Panbai wanted to stop him again, Yi Ronghua saw that one of the people following him happened to be a member of his club. He waved at the boy. Pull Yi Panbai away, don't let him hinder me here. The boy was tall and strong. He covered Yi Panbai's mouth instantly, and pulled the struggling Yi Panbai to the end of the crowd with one hand. Yi Panbai. Fall. He said that he would not suffer from being dumb, so he covered his mouth and made him dumb. Yi Panbai watched their figures gradually disappear before his eyes, and began to regret and reflect in his heart, why did he have such an idiot cousin as Yi Ronghua? Chapter 21. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Yi Panbai struggled to break free from the boy's grasp. When he hurried to the Sonda Club's training room, Wei Liz Ho and Yi Ronghua had already put on protective gear and gloves and stood on the ring. There are very few members in the Sonda Club, and there are usually no people in this training room, but at this time it is very lively, full of people who have heard the news. After Yi Ronghua and Wei Liz Ho met their eyes, they kicked their legs, approached each other at the same time, and punched each other. Yi Ronghua's punching speed was extremely fast, and the sharp wind of the fist cut through the air and approached Wei Lizhou's face. Wei Liz Ho kicked his feet on the ground, moved his upper body back slightly, and dodged Yi Ronghua's fist with an extremely small distance. Wei Lizhou's leg muscles tensed suddenly, his right leg was like a thick whip, and he kicked Yi Ronghua, who was too late to defend at this time. Yi Ronghua was caught off guard and kicked the side of the waist. Even with the protective gear, Wei Lizhou's attack was so powerful that he let out a muffled grunt. After the two quickly attacked and defended back and forth, they quickly opened up the distance again. Yi Ronghua couldn't help showing an excited and delighted smile on his face. He rubbed his waist and said loudly to Wei Liz Ho, "It wasn't a bad fight." Wei Liz Ho was not modest. "It's not bad, it's so. It's only 10 or 8 times stronger than you. It doesn't matter who is strong and who is weak." The fighting spirit in Yi Ronghua's eyes became stronger. After more than a dozen rounds of back and forth attacks, Wei Liz Ho finally threw Yi Ronghua onto the ring with a back throw. Wei Liz Ho looked at Yi Ronghua, who was slowly getting up, with a confident smile on his face. How? It's obvious who is strong and who is weak now. Yi Ronghua was convinced at this time, you are amazing. But if you still trouble Yi Panbai next time, then I don't mind fighting you again. Wei Lizho rolled his eyes, with Yi Panbai's domineering personality, it's fine if he doesn't make trouble for others. Who would make trouble for him if he has nothing to do? Seeing that the match was finally over, Yi Panbai hurried to the ring, just in time to hear Wei Lizho's words. He was so angry that he glared at Wei Lizho, but felt that he was at fault for today's matter, so he had to endure it and ran towards Yi Ronghua in a hurry. When Yi Ronghua saw Yi Panbai appear, he patted Yi Panbai on the shoulder, I've already settled the matter for you, you don't have to worry about being bullied by this kid anymore, he said just now that he won't trouble you in the future. Yi Panbai looked at Yi Ronghua's appearance of asking for credit, and was so angry that he wanted to punch him twice. Why couldn't this person listen to him? Yi Panbai hastily pulled Yi Ronghua aside, and explained the misunderstanding to him in a low voice. What? So Wei Lizho didn't bully you? Yi Ronghua said in surprise. Yi Panbai finally couldn't restrain himself and kicked Yi Ronghua, you are really my cousin. Can you keep your voice down, you think I'm not ashamed enough? Yi Ronghua was wronged instantly. Can you blame me for this, why didn't you explain it to me earlier? Yi Panbai glared at Yi Ronghua angrily, did you give me a chance to explain? I was directly covered by you. Seeing that Wei Lizho was looking at them curiously, Yi Ronghua walked over and smiled awkwardly at him, so it's all a misunderstanding, it's really a stranger. Wei Lizho. What is this man talking about? Just as Wei Lizho was about to ask Yi Ronghua, the door of the training room was suddenly pushed open, and 5 or 6 boys and girls came in grandly. They all wore silver shield medals from the Disciplinary Association on their school uniforms. Wei Lizho looked curiously at the movement at the door, who are these people, their style and aura seem to be quite enough. It's the Feng Jihui. What are people from the Disciplinary Association doing here at the Sonda Club? When Yi Ronghua saw Feng Jihui and his group walking in, a bitter look appeared on his face, why couldn't these uncles raise their hand and let him go? Yi Ronghua hurriedly jumped off the ring and stood in front of the members of the Disciplinary Association. He said to the short-haired girl who was the leader. Don't worry, I know what to do. I promise to hand over the candidates for new members of the Sonda Club to the Disciplinary Association in 2 days, go. The short-haired girl looked unmoved, you told me so half a month ago and 2 weeks ago. Yi Ronghua grimaced, after all, it's hard to find this member. I can't just drag someone into our Sonda Club. There were originally 6 members in the Sonda Club, but because 1 member has graduated, now it has 5 members. And Yi Ronghua would rather be short than excessive, and has certain requirements for members to join the club, and has not found any new members so far. The short-haired girl said in a business-like manner. This is a problem that you should solve. If the number of your Sonda Club does not meet the minimum standard of 6 members, our disciplinary committee will start the work of disbanding the Sonda Club. Yi Ronghua cheated. I don't care. Disbanding the Sonda Club is impossible, don't even think about it. The short-haired girl frowned. It's senior sister Lu Yiru. I actually met senior sister Lu Yiru here, today's luck index is max. Hearing the sudden comments from the people around, Yi Ronghua looked towards the door of the training room, and when he saw Lu Yiru appearing at the door with loose long curly hair, he immediately slapped his forehead in frustration. What kind of bad luck did he have today? Why did this great devil appear here? Lu Yiru passed through the crowd of onlookers and walked slowly to the girl with short hair, who called out, President, to her. Lu Yiru nodded her head coldly, and gave her a signal look. The short-haired girl understood immediately, and said to the surrounding people. Everyone, let's go and go about your own business. As soon as the short-haired girl said this, although the students around her were reluctant, they could only leave reluctantly. Wei Lizho had been standing on the ring from just now, watching the development of the whole incident, and when he heard the girl with short hair chasing her away, he jumped off the ring and walked to the changing room of the training room. He had to change the Sonda protective gear he was wearing all over his body, and his school bag was also placed in the changing room. Wei Lizho didn't notice that when he turned over and jumped off the ring, Lu Yiru glanced at him. When all non-Sansa Club members left, apart from the members of the Disciplinary Association, only Yi Ronghua and 4 Sonda Club members remained in the spacious training room. Yi Ronghua forcefully forced a smile, and greeted Lu Yiru. "Senior Lu, it's just such a small matter, why bother you to come out and solve it?" Lu Yiru's face was frosty. "Is it a small matter? This is the 3rd time that the members of the Disciplinary Association have come here, and they haven't resolved this matter yet. Are you implying that they are all useless trash?" Bar. The students present at the disciplinary meeting all looked at Yi Ronghua sharply. 9 out of 10 members of the Disciplinary Association are Lu Yiru's fanboys or girls. Seeing the cold eyes of these people, Yi Ronghua hastily denied. Misunderstanding. I don't mean that. Everyone in the school knows that the members of the disciplinary committee are all excellent, handsome men and beautiful women, and the level of work is top-notch. Yi Ronghua didn't want to offend everyone in the disciplinary association. After all, his association funds are all reviewed by these people to decide whether to pass. He also thought about replacing a batch of training equipment for the Sonda Club in the future. Lu Yiru's attitude was not shaken by Yi Ronghua's flattering words. Her tone was firm and tough. "I'll give you another 24-hour deadline. If you haven't found the last member to join the club by this time tomorrow, the disciplinary committee will ban the Sonda Club in accordance with the School Association Management Regulations, and take back the Sonda Club membership. Take up space and equipment accordingly." Yi Ronghua scratched her head in distress for a moment. The other 4 members of the Sonda Club were also standing beside Yi Ronghua at this time, and when they heard Lu Yiru's ultimatum, they looked at each other worriedly, and one of them suddenly said to Yi Ronghua, "President, or we can find someone at random. Come alone." Yi Ronghua had a face of resistance. People who don't love Sonda, how can they be qualified to join the Sonda Club? The member showed distress. "But if our Sonda Club doesn't find new members, it will have disappeared by this time tomorrow." Yi Ronghua clasped his hands together and begged Lu Yiru, "Senior Lu. Beauty Lu. Goddess Lu. Just give us a little more time, 24 hours is too short." When Wei Lizho changed his protective gear and came out of the locker room, he happened to see Yi Ronghua pleading with Lu Yiru. Wei Lizho was at a loss. What are they doing? Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Wei Lizho was about to walk over curiously, Lu Yiru happened to look up at him. The two just met eyes. Wei Lizho twitched the corners of his mouth, and smiled politely at her. Lu Yiru withdrew her eyes in a blink of an eye. She looked at Yi Ronghua, who was still entangled with her, and said aloud, "Is 24 hours short? Is it difficult to find a suitable new member?" "Short. Difficult." Yi Ronghua nodded like a pounding garlic. Lu Yiru slightly hooked her lower lip. "I think you are dark under the lamp." Yi Ronghua looked puzzled. "Is there anyone around me who is suitable to join the Sonda Club?" "Impossible, if there is one, I would have found out a long time ago." Lu Yiru. "I didn't have it before, but it doesn't mean I don't have it now." Lu Yiru looked at Wei Lizho, who was constantly approaching them. Yi Ronghua was puzzled, and followed Lu Yiru's gaze. When he saw Wei Lizho, he suddenly realized, he was as excited as a firecracker, jumped up all of a sudden, and hurried to Wei Lizho. Seeing Yi Ronghua galloping towards him and running towards him with a frenzied face, Wei Lizho couldn't help but wanted to take a step back, but Yi Ronghua grabbed his hands. Yi Ronghua held Wei Lizho's hands tightly as if grabbing a life-saving straw, her eyes full of anticipation and hope. "Wei Lizho. The life and death of our Sonda Club is all in your mind now. Wei Lizho was a little confused. What are you talking about? Yi Ronghua gave a crackling meal, and told Wei Lizho the current predicament that their Sonda club was facing. Wei Lizho. You don't need to say it. What do you mean? Yi Ronghua couldn't help feeling uneasy. You probably won't have the heart to see our Sonda club just disappear into the long river of history. Wei Lizho smiled and patted Yi Ronghua's shoulder. How is that possible? Don't worry, I'll just join the Sonda club. Yi Ronghua excitedly tapped Wei Lizho's shoulder. That's enough, buddy. If you need help in the future, just come to me. Wei Lizho looked indifferent. It's just a trivial matter, don't worry about it. After Wei Lizho got in touch with Yi Ronghua, he felt that this person was not bad. From his open and aboveboard martial arts, one can see a bit of this person's heart. Although I saw in the prophetic dream that the Yi family had annexed part of the assets of the Wei family when the Wei family went bankrupt. But Ye's methods are very clean, unlike the other three. Seeing that Wei Lizho and Wei Lizho had reached a consensus, Yi Ronghua cocked her tail proudly. He walked up to Lu Yiru. Senior Lu doesn't need to give me 24 hours. I've already found a suitable candidate. Members of the disciplinary committee present. If it wasn't for senior sister Lu's guidance, Yi Ronghua would still be in a daze. How could she have the face to show off in front of the president? Lu Yiru didn't care about his happy and complacent appearance. Remember to hand over the registration list of club members to the disciplinary committee office tomorrow. Yi Ronghua. I understand. I understand. Don't worry, I will definitely handle this matter properly. Seeing that the matter was over, Lu Yiru led the members of the disciplinary association to leave. Before walking out of the door of the training room, the short-haired girl who was following Lu Yiru suddenly turned her head and said to Yi Ronghua. Yi Ronghua, I forgot to tell you something. The application for the Sonda Club funding you submitted is a bit too high. We went through a meeting yesterday. After discussion, at most half of the amount can be approved to you. In an instant, the smile on Yi Ronghua's face collapsed. He excitedly said to the short-haired girl. Half of it is not enough. Don't you see that the training equipment here is a bit old? The short-haired girl ignored his yelling, and the members of the Feng Jihui quickly disappeared from Yi Ronghua's sight. Seeing this, Yi Ronghua had no choice but to accept the reality of half of the funding. Forget it, it's a lot to be able to approve half of the funding. Anyway, the most difficult thing has been solved. He patted Wei Lizho on the shoulder. Fortunately, with you joining, we can avoid the tragic fate of destroying the club. Come on, it's club activity time, let's fight again. Hearing Yi Ronghua's invitation to Wei Lizho to fight, the other 4 members of the Sonda Club hurriedly said. President, you have already fought once, now it's our turn. That's right. My hands are itchy right now. Wei Lizho. So why was he in such a hurry to change out the protective gear just now, and now he has to put it on again? The next day. As soon as Zhu Jinyang came to the classroom, he immediately inquired about what happened to Wei Lizho and Yi Ronghua yesterday. Zhu Jinyang was looking forward to hearing the news that Wei Lizho was beaten up by Yi Ronghua, but the news he got disappointed him greatly. Zhu Jinyang didn't expect that Wei Lizho didn't form a sworn enemy with Yi Ronghua, and even helped Yi Ronghua solve the plight of the club. Thinking of how he helped Yi Ronghua point out Wei Lizho's location yesterday, Zhu Jinyang felt annoyed. Zhu Jinyang couldn't help complaining to Yu Weiyun, who was sitting next to him. I'm really upset, why is Wei Lizho so lucky? Although Zhu Jinyang has a good relationship with Yi Ronghua, they have known each other since they were young, and they were in the same class in junior high school. But he still hoped that it would be best for Yi Ronghua to have a bad relationship with Wei Lizho, so that the relationship between the Wei family and the Yi family might also be affected. Although Yu Weiyun was a little unhappy about this matter, he still smiled and comforted Zhu Jinyang, pretending to be reasonable and generous. Don't be angry, didn't your grandfather tell you to make friends with Wei Lizho? Zhu Jinyang snorted dissatisfiedly. If it wasn't for my grandfather's order, I wouldn't want to befriend someone like him. Wei Lizho was completely unaware of Zhu Jinyang's wishful thinking. As soon as he came to the classroom, he began to worry about what to do if there was only one person left in their group. Wei Lizho turned his head to look at Yu Yiqing, and seeing Yu Yiqing holding a large foreign language medical book that looked like a heavenly book early in the morning, Wei Lizho couldn't help feeling a little helpless. Wei Lizho. At the same table, do you know any suitable candidates in this class who can join our group? Yu Yiqing raised his eyelids and gave him a cold look. What do you think? Wei Lizho. Well, without further ado, he asked a stupid question. Just by looking at the character of his deskmate who can't hold back 3 sentences a day, one can guess how popular he is in the class. Wei Lizho scratched his forehead in distress. How about I go up to the podium and yell? This should work. When Yi Panbai entered the classroom from Wei Lizho just now, his ears were already pricked up, secretly paying attention to the movement behind him. After hearing Wei Lizho's words, he turned around pretending to be calm, and said casually. You still need one person to form a team, right? Or, I'll join you. You. Wei Lizho was a little surprised. Yi Panbai clenched his hands under the table for a moment, pretending to be indifferent and said. I'm too lazy to find other people to form a team. Anyway, you are the closest to me, so we just get what we need. Wei Lizho looked at Yi Panbai up and down. Yi Panbai felt uneasy when he looked at him. This Wei Lizho probably planned to reject him. Wei Lizho turned to look at Yu Yiqing. At the same table, you are also a member of the group. What do you think about Yi Panbai joining? Yu Yiqing's voice was cold. I don't care, you can decide. Wei Lizho looked at Yi Panbai. Okay, for your cousin Yi Ronghua's sake, I'll let you join our group. When Yi Panbai heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue, but it was because of his cousin Yi Ronghua. If it wasn't for Yi Ronghua's sudden appearance yesterday, he might have settled this matter long ago. Why would it need to be delayed until today? Wei Lizho saw that there was something wrong with the expression on Yi Panbai's face, so he asked aloud. What's wrong with you? Could it be that you suddenly plan to go back on your word? Yi Panbai gritted his teeth and said, It's okay. It's just that I suddenly thought of something that is so annoying. Wei Lizho. It's weird, Yi Panbai looks not very smart. If their group has homework to do together in the future, he probably won't hold back their group. Fortunately, Yi Panbai didn't know about Wei Lizho's slander. Otherwise, he might be so angry that he would faint on the spot. Wei Lizho looked at Yu Yiqing and Yi Panbai, and asked, since we have formed a team, who will be the team leader? Both Yu Yiqing and Yi Panbai looked at Wei Lizho at the same time. Wei Lizho looked surprised. No, don't you mean that you want me to be it? Yi Panbai. Yes. Yu Yiqing nodded slightly. The minority obeys the majority. Now you are the team leader. Yi Panbai made a decision immediately. Wei Lizho. Why do I feel that your method of selecting team leaders is a bit unreliable? After accepting the fact that he is the team leader, Wei Lizho proposed aloud. Then let's start a group, so that we can communicate in the group conveniently in the future. Wei Lizho quickly built a group, and brought Yu Yiqing and Yi Panbai into it. After seeing the group name, Yi Panbai rolled his eyes speechlessly. Yi Panbai's tone was full of disgust. Can you come up with a more elegant group name? Wei Lizho. What's the matter? Isn't the name, Playing Cards 3Ks1, not good enough? It is in line with reality. And since you chose me as the team leader, you should listen to me now. Yu Yiqing heard the words. Yi Panbai still failed to change the group name in the end, and Wei Lizho even reported this group name as the group name when registering the group name later. When the head teacher was looking through the registration form, she was drinking water from a water glass. When she saw Wei Lizho and his group name, she immediately choked on the water in her mouth and coughed. Class teacher. I wonder what kind of group of students she leads. Chapter 23. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Since the students in the class formed a study group, the teachers of each subject began to assign them some group assignments that required cooperation. On this day, the Chinese teacher assigned them a group assignment, asking each of them to choose a favorite work from the Chinese and Foreign Literature Award-winning novels. Then the team members abbreviated the novel together, and condensed its entire content into 1,000 words. The Chinese teacher gave them 1 month to complete, and finally asked them to present a PPT in the class and summarize and report their group's homework. After listening to the homework requirements of the Chinese teacher, Wei Lizhou immediately said to Yu Yiqing, "Then let's try to choose shorter novels." Yi Panbai turned around from the front, and complained to Wei Lizhou. "You know how to be lazy." Wei Lizhou immediately retorted, "This is not laziness, it is obviously witty. Do you want to choose the novel of a big guy who is as thick as a brick? Even if I am given a year for that big guy, I may not be able to read it." Read it. Ever since forming a group with these two people, Yu Yiqing has become accustomed to such noisy scenes. He posted the information he found in their group, and said, "Check the list of books I posted to see if there are any novels you are interested in." The novels in the book list that Yu Yiqing found are relatively easy to understand, with relatively strong storytelling and readability, suitable for Wei Lizhou who doesn't like reading. Wei Lizhou clicked on the book list posted by Yu Yiqing in the group, and praised, "I am still reliable at the same table. Compared with someone who will only slow down, it is simply 800 times better." Yi Panbai rolled his eyes at him in disgust. "Compared to me, your usefulness is not much stronger." Wei Lizhou raised his eyebrows triumphantly and said, "Although I am not the same as you, a little white noodle steamed bun, I have one more tablemate than you who can hug my thigh. Do you have one?" The place next to Yi Panbai is empty, so he has been using it to pile up snacks and sundries. Seeing Wei Lizhou showing off, Yi Panbai couldn't help grinding his teeth angrily. "Isn't it just a desk mate, what's so rare? If I want to find a desk mate, I can find it at any time." Wei Lizhou crossed his legs. "Then you are looking for it. The people in the class have already fixed their positions. Unless there is another transfer student, I don't think there is a solution." Although Yi Panbai knew that what Wei Lizhou said was true, he still refused to admit defeat. "How do you know that there will be no transfer students in the future? Maybe another one will come in a few days." Wei Lizhou laughed out loud. "Yi Panbai, wake up, the sky is still bright, don't start dreaming so soon." Obviously, they were discussing homework at the beginning, but now the two of them have strayed 1,000 miles away. Yu Yiqing interrupted their conversation. He said concisely, "You two first pick out the books you are interested in from this book list." Yu Yiqing would be silent, but he could control the two of them when he spoke. Wei Lizhou and Yi Panbai obediently looked down at their phones in an instant, and carefully selected the books they wanted to read. After reading the titles selected by Wei Lizhou and Yi Panbai, Yu Yiqing said, "Among the choices given by you two, there is the novel Annie and Her Cabin. Let's pick this one." "There is a problem." Yi Panbai, "I have no objection." "Me too." "Then I'll place an order for this book now. I remember that I don't have this book at home." Wei Lizhou said, and was about to open the online shopping software. At this time, Yu Yiqing said, "I remember that there are several books in the school library, and they should all still be there now." Wei Lizhou instantly dismissed the idea of buying. Yi Panbai opened the official website of the school library, searched for the title of the book, and said, "The official website shows that one book has been lent out, and there are still 4 left." Wei Lizhou proposed aloud, "Then after school, shall we go to the library to borrow books together?" Yu Yiqing nodded slightly. Yi Panbai also has no objection to this. Soon, it will be time after school. Noticing the marks of a ballpoint pen on the side of the palm of his right hand, Yu Yiqing frowned slightly. Wei Lizhou had already packed his school bag at this time, and was waiting for Yu Yiqing and Yi Panbai. He noticed that Yuiching frowned after looking at the ballpoint pen mark on the side of the palm. Immediately, remembering that Yuiching seemed to be a little bit obsessed with cleanliness, he said to Yuiching, "Go to the toilet and wash your hands first, anyway, there is no rush to borrow books." Wei Lizho said to Yi Panbai, who was in front again. "Yi Panbai, Yuiching is going to wash his hands, let's wait for him for a while." Yi Panbai said without turning his head, "Understood." Yuiching was indeed disgusted by the marks of the ballpoint pen on his hands. He stood up and said, "I'll be back soon." Wei Lizho waved his hand casually. "Go, go, we are not in a hurry." Yuiching deliberately picked a bathroom that was less visited by people and therefore cleaner. In the bathroom, when Yuiching was lowering his head and scrubbing the sides of his hands, two boys suddenly walked in from outside. After the two boys finished using the toilet, they walked to the sink to wash their hands. Among them, the tall and thin boy suddenly said to the fat boy next to him, "I really can't get used to that kid Wei Lizho." Yuyi's action of washing his hands suddenly paused. Then he continued to lower his head and rub the ballpoint pen marks on his hands. The slightly chubby boy nodded in agreement, "That's right, he hasn't been in school for long, and there are troubles from time to time. He wants to show off and get people's attention." The thin and tall boy. "Isn't Yi Ronghua from the Yi family very difficult to get close to?" Wei Lizho has a good relationship with him now by taking the opportunity of joining the Sonda Club. The chubby boy's voice was full of jealousy. "I think he pretends to be scheming all day long, but in fact he should have too many eyes. I really don't understand why so many girls like him. I heard people in his class say that he am so bad at studying, I can't even answer the questions when the teacher calls me up." The more the two boys talked, the more excited they became, and they ignored Yuiching, who was standing in the corner silently washing his hands. After Yuiching saw that the stains on his hands were finally washed off, he shook off the water droplets on his hands, took out a handkerchief and wiped his long and slender fingers carefully. After drying his hands, he walked towards the bathroom door in silence. When he was about to walk out of the door, he suddenly turned his head and looked at the two boys who were still speaking ill of Wei Lizho. He looked at the boys with sharp eyes like ice picks, and sneered coldly. "Since there are so many opinions on Wei Lizho, why do you only dare to hide in the remote men's toilet like a mouse in the gutter, but dare not go and say it to his face?" The two boys did not expect that Yuiching would suddenly criticize them. After the two were stunned for a moment, the tall and thin boy became angry with embarrassment. "Who are you? We are talking about Wei Lizho, and we didn't talk about you. Stop meddling in your own business." When Yuiching was about to speak, Wei Lizho suddenly appeared from behind him and patted him on the shoulder. "Yuiching, why did you go to the bathroom for so long?" As soon as the anger of the two boys rose, Wei Lizho shrank back instantly in fright. They were so frightened that their faces turned pale for a moment, and they stared at Wei Lizho dumbfounded. Wei Lizho was still complaining to Yuiching. "The bathroom you are looking for is too remote. I searched for a long time before I found you here. It's cleaner here," Yui explained calmly. Only then did Wei Lizho notice the two people in the bathroom, and he asked Yuiching, "Why do these two people have weird expressions on their faces? Do you know them?" The hearts of the two boys felt as if they were lifted by a big hand. Yuiching: "I don't know." "Oh, let's go now. I've already taken your school bag for you. Yi Panbai is waiting for us at the stairs. If he waits for a long time, he will definitely have to talk a lot." The two boys breathed a sigh of relief when they saw their walking away. The tall and thin boy was still in shock. He looked at the fat boy and asked hesitantly, "Will that person report us to Wei Lizho? If Wei Lizho wants to target us, what should we do? He fights really well." The chubby boy also had a worried look on his face, and he replied impatiently, "You ask me, who am I to ask? It's all your fault. If you hadn't mentioned Wei Lizho first, I wouldn't have followed you into trouble." The tall and thin boy immediately became angry when he heard this. Now you know that you are blaming me for shirking responsibility. Don't forget that you were the one who said the most bad things about Wei Lizho just now, right? Even if Wei Lizho wanted to find fault, he should be the last find you first. Really, if only the person who scolded us just now didn't sue Wei Lizho. So you were secretly talking bad about me just now. Wei Lizhou's sudden voice made the two coaxing boys widen their eyes in horror. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wei Lizho crossed his arms and leaned against the door frame. Let me tell you why you all look like you've seen a ghost when you saw me just now. You did something wrong when you company authored it. After Wei Lizho and Yui Ching walked for a while, they still felt that these two boys were a little strange. He suspected that the two of them might be secretly bullying Yui Ching, so he deliberately found an excuse to wash his hands and turned back. The two boys never expected that Wei Lizho would go back and return, and they hurriedly shirk responsibility from each other. It was he who told you first. Although I brought up this topic first, he talked the most. He also said bad things about you several times before. Seeing the dog bites dog scene in front of him, Wei Lizho rolled his eyes in disgust. It's really boring. Wei Lizho turned around and left the bathroom. No one speaks behind anyone's back. Wei Lizho didn't take this kind of thing seriously, but what the two boys mentioned just now made him happy at this moment. Seeing Wei Lizho's figure disappear from sight, the two boys looked at each other in disbelief. The thin and tall man. Does he mean to let us go? It seems to mean that. That's good. Starting today, I will break up with you. Cut. If you break up with me, break up with me. You think I'm a rarity. Seeing Wei Lizho returning with a smile on his face, Yui Ching couldn't help feeling a little puzzled. Is it such a joyful thing to wash your hands? Wei Lizho jogged happily to Yui Ching's side. He hugged Yui Ching's shoulders, and said with a bright smile. Hey, I know all about my desk mate. Yui Ching was puzzled. Know what? Of course it's about you scolding those two boys for me in the bathroom just now. Wei Lizho's handsome eyebrows and eyes were full of smiles at this moment. He looked at Yui Ching and teased, although you concealed it very well, I already guessed that you are cold. Hearted and warm-hearted. Hahaha, today's incident really verified my previous guess. Yui Ching. You think too much. Words like cold face and warm heart have nothing to do with him. Yui swept away Wei Lizho's hand on his shoulder. Wei Lizho put his hands behind his head, and said with a leisurely smile, Hey, so that's the case, I understand. Seeing Wei Lizho's expression, Yui Ching knew that Wei Lizho must have made up something else. Yui Ching pursed her lips, and couldn't help asking. What do you know? The corners of Wei Lizho's mouth raised, and he said, when someone says something wrong, follow him and don't argue with him, because you can never wake up a person who pretends to be asleep. After Wei Lizho finished speaking, he looked at Yui Ching proudly. Well, I learned this insight from an article I read a few days ago. Doesn't it seem very profound and mysterious? Yui Ching. Silent meditation is more profound and profound, why don't you learn that? Wei Lizho was curious. How to learn this? It's simple, shut up. This seems a bit difficult to learn. Wei Lizho frowned in distress, but he reacted instantly. No. You are implying me to shut up. Yui Ching raised her eyes and glanced at him, it's good that you know. Wei Lizho. At the same table, you speak so deeply. Even cursing has to take 18 bends in the mountain road. You too, why are you still dawdling there? The tortoise is not as slow as you. Yi Panbai shouted to them standing not far away. He carried a school bag on his back, and Wei Lizho and Yui Ching's school bags in his hands. Go, go, or Yi Panbai will be nagging again. Wei Lizho ran towards Yi Panbai. Yui Ching looked calm and composed. When he walked up to the two, as expected, the two were belittling and attacking each other again. Yuiching took it for granted, and said quietly. The library will be closed in half an hour. Wei Lizho. Then let's go quickly, don't waste time. Yi Panbai. You are the one who wastes time the most. Aren't you the team leader? Why don't you have any sense of time? Yuiching has to remind you when the library is closed. What do you know? Wei Lizho rolled his eyes at Yi Panbai. I have already appointed Yuiching as the deputy team leader, and the duty of the deputy team leader is to assist the team leader. Yi Panbai wondered. When did this happen? As a member of the group, why don't I know? Wei Lizho raised his head proudly. Just 3 seconds ago. Yuiching. Yi Panbai was also speechless. If you take your word seriously again, I'm a pig. Don't say it too early, or Yuiching and I may have another pig teammate in the future. Hahaha, pig teammate, just thinking about it is too funny. There was also a slight smile in Yuiching's eyes. Yi Panbai. Wei Lizho. Amidst the loud laughter and cursing, the figures of the three gradually drifted away. The next day. Jiahai International School is a bit unusual today, there seems to be a lively and exciting atmosphere in the air. Class 8, Grade 2. As soon as the teacher finished class and hadn't walked out of the classroom, the students below started making noise. Have you heard about that? I must know, I have been looking forward to the stars and the moon for a long time. Finally let me wait until the day when the Fengji will recruit new students. Me too, but I haven't found a referrer yet, so I'm a little worried. The disciplinary committee posted a new recruitment announcement on the campus bulletin board today. However, not everyone is eligible to apply for the recruitment of the disciplinary association. Only members of the disciplinary association are required to help as referees in order to be eligible for registration. This is the new recruiting rule of the Fengjihui. Fortunately, I asked my mother to help me find a senior from the disciplinary association to be my referrer at the beginning of school. My friend joined the disciplinary association in the first year of high school last year, and it happens that he can be my referrer this year. For students in schools who want to apply to famous foreign schools, writing the resume of Jiahai Fengjihui on their resumes can help them be admitted to famous foreign schools more easily. That's great, I don't even know anyone in the disciplinary association. Perhaps, you can please Yuiching. Maybe he will help you. The first place in each grade can be qualified for registration without a referrer. If you don't want to join the disciplinary association, you can transfer the recommended quota to others. Ah. Yuiching. He's a social supporter. It's too embarrassing for me to please him. What's the matter with the social helper, at least he can help you now. Forget it, if I really can't find a referrer, I should give up. After all, even if I have the qualifications to apply, I may not pass the examination. Hey, look quickly. Yu Weiyun went to find Yuiching. Does he want Yuiching to give him the recommended spot? It's really hard to say, Yuiching doesn't look like someone who will join the disciplinary association. The roof of the teaching building. Yui looked at Yu Weiyun in front of him coldly. You called me here on purpose, what's the matter? Yu Weiyun pursed her lips, her voice full of guilt. Brother, I'm here to apologize to you. I shouldn't have been so fussy about school uniforms before. I've been regretting my behavior for a while. Can you forgive my immature brother? Yuiching's eyes were dark, and he looked at Yu Weiyun with a cold look. Don't go around in circles with me. Yu Weiyun looked aggrieved. I didn't, I really knew I was wrong, and I wanted to get back together with you. There is no overnight feud in the family, why can't you trust me? If all you want to say is this nonsense, then I don't need to listen anymore. After Yuiching finished speaking, he turned around and walked away. Wait. Yu Weiyun hurriedly called Yuiching to stop in a panic. Seeing that Yuiching's footsteps did not stop, Yu Weiyun trotted to catch up with him and blocked in front of the roof gate. Now, are you going to say it? Yui Ching looked at Yu Weiyun indifferently. A trace of resentment flashed quickly in Yu Weiyun's downcast eyes. But thinking that the current situation is stronger than others, and he has something to ask Yui Ching, he can only say in a low voice. Brother, you don't plan to join the discipline, right? What does this have to do with you? Yui Ching instantly understood that Yu Weiyun was planning to get his recommended spot. Yu Weiyun looked at Yui Ching expectantly. Brother, I understand you. You have never liked to attract attention since you were a child, and you are not good at socializing. I know you will definitely not join the disciplinary association. So can you give me your recommendation spot? There is a great need for this recommendation. Yu Weiyun knew that Zhu Jinyang planned to apply for foreign universities in the future, and he also wanted to follow Zhu Jinyang to study abroad. The experience of the disciplinary association could gild his university application resume. Looking at Yu Weiyun's normal look, Yui Ching slightly pulled his thin lips and sneered. You need it, so I have to give it up. Yu Weiyun had already guessed that he would not be able to easily get this recommended spot. Yu Weiyun. Then I will give you 500 yuan, can I buy this quota from you? Do you think this quota is only worth 500 yuan? Yui Ching's eyes flashed a bit of ridicule. Yu Weiyun felt resentful and aggrieved. Of course he knew that if he really sold this quota, it would definitely cost far more than 500 yuan. But Yui Ching and him are brothers, so why can't he let him down a bit? Yu Weiyun gritted her teeth. Is 1,000 okay? Brother, I really have no money. What do you think? Yui Ching asked coldly. In fact, no matter how much Yu Weiyun pays, Yui Ching has no intention of selling this quota to Yu Weiyun, he just wants to see how thick Yu Weiyun can be. Yu Weiyun also knew that the price he offered was indeed too low. But he was not willing to give Yui Ching all his pocket money. But thinking of the importance of this quota to him, Yu Weiyun instantly put on a pitiful appearance of being wronged. With slightly red eyes, he said in a low voice. Brother, we are brothers, why can't you put yourself in my shoes and think about it? I am not as good as you, I am liked by the teacher, and I can easily pass every exam. To number 1. While Yu Weiyun was speaking, the jealousy in his heart gradually came out, he lowered his head to hide the jealousy that appeared in his eyes at this moment. He said in an aggrieved voice. Many people in this school look down on me, and they often laugh at me behind my back. If you can give me the recommendation spot, after I join the disciplinary committee, people like Zhu Qingyu won't bully me anymore. Yu Weiyun is best at playing the sympathy card. If someone with a soft heart sees the appearance he is putting on at this time, he might start to shake his mind. It's a pity that Yui Ching didn't feel any disturbance in his heart. In his opinion, Yu Weiyun's series of performances are as ridiculous as a funny clown. When he was about to speak to make Yu Weiyun give up as soon as possible, a thunderous voice suddenly came from above their heads. It's really brazen. Brazen. Yui Ching and Yu Weiyun looked up, and were surprised to see Wei Lizho standing on the concrete platform above the roof gate. Under the gaze of the two, Wei Lizho bent his knees and leaped lightly, jumping directly from the concrete platform more than 4 meters high. After landing easily and safely, Wei Lizho walked to Yui Ching's side, and he glared at Yu Weiyun angrily. Don't you think what you just said is shameless? Since this so-called quota belongs to Yui Ching, why should he give it to you? Wei Lizho looked at Yu Weiyun contemptuously, because you are 1 year younger than him. Or is it because of your poor grades? Yui Ching was able to get this spot because of his own ability. And what are you doing? Kidnapping is number 1. Wei Lizho's blatant accusation made Yu Weiyun's face flushed with scolding, he faltered and refuted and argued. I didn't. Wei Lizho, don't spit blood, but then tell me how I wronged you. Wei Lizho crossed his arms and stared at Yu Weiyun. Didn't you want Yui Ching to give you this quota for free? Could it be that you sold yourself miserably to win Yui Ching? His sympathy and pity, so that he can get this registration qualification at a low price. Yu Weiyun was stunned speechless. He opened his mouth, but couldn't think of any rebuttal words for a moment. Wei Lizho saw that Yu Weiyun was said to be listless by himself, and then turned his head to Yu Yiqing worriedly. At the same table, don't let your heart soften just because of his pitiful appearance. He said that Zhu Qingyu bullied him, but isn't his relationship with Zhu Jinyang very good? Even if he wanted someone to help, he should look for someone as capable as Zhu Jinyang. He came to moral kidnapping to ask you for help. It's like a persimmon looking for a soft pinch. Yu Yiqing felt a little helpless when he saw Wei Lizhou's worried expression. Does Wei Lizhou have any illusions about him? He is actually worried that he is soft-hearted towards Yu Weiyun. The more Wei Lizhou talked, the more he felt that Yu Weiyun, the protagonist, was too scheming. Although his deskmate was good at reading, he definitely couldn't play with the protagonist's show. Wei Lizhou grabbed Yu Yiqing's shoulders. I suddenly remembered that there is something urgent to do, let's go. Before Yu Yiqing could reply, Wei Lizhou hurriedly led him down the top floor half. Pushed. Yu Weiyun, who was instantly left behind by the two, clenched his fists in anger, gritted his teeth and watched their backs going downstairs, breathing heavily. When the backs of the two quickly disappeared from sight, Yu Weiyun was even more annoyed, and couldn't help kicking the wall hard. When Wei Lizhou and Yu Yiqing were walking in the corridor back to the classroom, Yu Yiqing suddenly asked Wei Lizhou, "Why were you there just now?" Wei Lizhou spread his hands helplessly. "I didn't eavesdrop on purpose, I got there a long time earlier than you guys. I thought it was quiet up there, so I went to make a phone call." Unexpectedly, just after hanging up the phone, you two suddenly appeared. Wei Lizhou looked at Yu Yiqing. "You should be glad that I happened to be there at that time, otherwise you might be bewitched by his ecstasy." Yu Yiqing. What exactly gave you this illusion? If you don't listen to Li Zhou's words, you will suffer in front of your eyes. At the same table, you can take care of what I say. Captain Wei Lizhou sighed. "I am really worried about you. If this continues, I may lose my heart, premature aging." Yu Yiqing finally couldn't bear the speechlessness in his heart. He complained softly. "If you can stop your worrying, I think it will be the best of both worlds." "Oh, you are still too young and know too little." Wei Lizhou patted Yu Yiqing's shoulder with an old-fashioned look. Yu Yiqing. When Wei Lizhou said this, wouldn't his face feel hot? On the rooftop, after Yu Weiyun tidied up and suppressed his emotions, he went down the stairs, and happened to meet Zhu Jinyang, who came to look for him in the corridor. As soon as Yu Weiyun saw Zhu Jinyang, he immediately showed a very wronged expression on his face. Zhu Jinyang naturally couldn't see his appearance, and hurriedly asked him why. "Zhu Jinyang. What's wrong with you? Did someone bully you?" Yu Weiyun pursed her lips. "Forget it, it's just a trivial matter, talking about it will only make you unhappy." Zhu Jinyang asked repeatedly, and Yu Weiyun pretended to be very reluctant, and told Zhu Jinyang what happened on the rooftop just now. Of course, his words are full of spring and autumn strokes. After hearing this, Zhu Jinyang was so angry that he began to fight for Yu Weiyun. "Thanks to Yu Yiqing, he is still your brother, so snobbish. Has his eyes fallen into Qian's eyes? Just wait, I will help you now." Justice. Yu Weiyun pulled Zhu Jinyang back, pretending to be considerate to wish Jinyang well. "Forget it, you'd better not go. After all, Wei Lizhou is on his side. Didn't your grandfather tell you to have a good relationship with him? Don't cause you to be scolded by your grandpa because of me." Zhu Jinyang. "It's okay, you don't have to worry about me. I'm just going to make a deal with Yu Yiqing, and I won't conflict with Wei Lizhou. Didn't Yu Yiqing dislike the lack of money you gave? Then I'll take a look how big is his appetite." Zhu Jinyang pulled Yu Weiyun into the classroom aggressively, and stood in front of Wei Lizhou's desk. Zhu Jinyang looked at Yu Yiqing, who was sitting by the window on the inside, and said in a commanding tone. "Hey, come out for a while. I have something to tell you." Yu Yiqing didn't show the slightest sign of wanting to talk to Zhu Jinyang. He was still looking at the books in his hands calmly, as if he regarded Zhu Jinyang as heir. Zhu Jinyang was so embarrassed that he couldn't get off the stage. He gritted his teeth angrily. "Hey, I'm talking to you, didn't you hear me? Why are you talking so loudly? When people don't know that you have a mouth, or are you afraid that others will not know that you have no quality?" Sitting on the seat, Wei Lizho couldn't help but rolled his eyes, and he snorted uncomfortably. Are these people really not polite or something? They always call people hello, don't they know their names? Zhu Jinyang originally wanted Wei Lizho to stop meddling in his own business. But for a moment, his grandfather's exhortations came to mind. So he had to try his best to suppress his anger, and said again. "Yu Yiqing, please come out, I have something to ask you." Yu Yiqing's thin lips spat out slightly. "If you have something to say, just say it here." After being humiliated one after another, Zhu Jinyang couldn't help becoming more and more annoyed. "Since you asked me to say it here, then I will clarify the matter. Just tell me, how much money do you need before you are willing to take your money? The registration qualification for the disciplinary association is transferred to Yu Weiyun." Yu Weiyun pulled Zhu Jinyang, lowered his eyebrows and persuaded in a low voice. "Zhu Jinyang, forget it, it doesn't matter if I don't want this qualification." Zhu Jinyang said firmly. "No, I must help you get this qualification today." Yui looked at the picture in front of him coldly, curled his lower lip contemptuously, and asked Zhu Jinyang, "I will set the price." Zhu Jinyang said very generously. "Yes. Now, you should have no face to say that Yu Weiyun took advantage of you." Yu Yiqing. "Okay, since you want to buy it, I won't stop you." Wei Lizho was a little surprised. At the same table, "Are you really planning to sell them?" Seeing that Wei Lizho's eyes widened in shock, the corners of Yu Yiqing's mouth suddenly curled up slightly, and a faint smile appeared on his face which was rare. Yu Yiqing's smile was as fleeting as a flash in the pan. With a cold face, he looked at Zhu Jinyang. "Since you asked me to make the price, then the price is 6 million. You are robbing." Zhu Jinyang was shocked by the price, and he glared at Yu Yiqing angrily. "You are like a lion with a big mouth, whimsical." Yu Yiqing's voice was cold, and he said sarcastically. "Didn't you say that the price will be set by me? Since you are not that rich, why pretend to be rich?" When Yu Yiqing said this, Zhu Jinyang felt a little ashamed for a moment, and noticed the faint gazes of people around him looking towards him, and he explained dryly. "It's not that I can't afford the money, but you're obviously just sitting on the ground and raising the price. Take me for a fool. So you still know that you are being taken advantage of?" Wei Lizho asked teasingly. Zhu Jinyang is like Yu Weiyun's humanoid ATM machine, the one that is always on call and has no complaints. Zhu Jinyang choked when Wei Lizho said this. Yu Weiyun gently tugged on Zhu Jinyang's arm, with a considerate tone. "Forget it, don't make you unhappy because of my affairs." Zhu Jinyang. "It's okay, don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you." Zhu Jinyang looked at Yu Yiqing, threatening and tempting. "It's useless for you to keep this registration qualification, you might as well use it to make a fortune. I really want to buy it with you. The price of 50,000 yuan is already a lot of money. For the sake of your relationship with Yu Weiyun, I paid a good price. If you are sensible, accept it as soon as you see it, and don't go to waste later." A bit of sarcasm flashed in Yu Yiqing's eyes, and he said calmly. "Who said that this registration qualification is useless to me? You don't have to waste your time, no matter how much money you pay, I won't sell it. I have already planned to sign up for Fengji Will." Yu Weiyun blurted out angrily. You're kidding me." Yu Yiqing's eyes were as cold as ice. "It's you who are rushing to make fun of yourself." Hearing what Yu Yiqing said, Zhu Jinyang and Yu Weiyun had no choice but to return home disappointed. After the two left bitterly, Wei Lizho asked Yu Yiqing curiously. "At the same table, are you really planning to sign up for the disciplinary association, or are you deliberately annoying them?" After Yui Ching said a few words to Wei Lizho in a low voice, Wei Lizho suddenly burst into laughter. He patted Yui Ching's shoulder. Ha ha ha, this trick is bad enough, I like it. As he spoke, he couldn't help but began to gloat and laugh again. Although Yui Ching hit a wall, Zhu Jinyang still relied on his connections to help Yu Weiyun get a registration qualification. Although he was very happy to see Yu Weiyun's smiling face when he was surprised, Zhu Jinyang's joy suddenly faded when he thought that he owed others a favor because of this. Chapter 25. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The Disciplinary Association will soon announce the applicants for this time. Ah. I didn't sign up, why did I appear on the list of candidates on the bulletin board? Wei Lizho looked at Yi Panbai with surprise on his face. Yi Panbai spread his hands. You ask me, I'll ask who to go to. I just glanced at the bulletin board casually. Anyway, it said Wei Lizho, Class 28, Senior High School. I thought it was you who signed up secretly. It's over. Wei Lizho scratched his head in wonder. There is indeed only one Wei Lizho in our class, but I didn't sign up. Yui Ching, who sat aside and listened to their entire conversation, suddenly said, maybe a member of the disciplinary committee thinks you are suitable, so he gave you his recommendation qualification. After hearing Yui Ching's explanation, Wei Lizho laughed proudly in an instant. Who has such a good vision? You really know a hero with insight. Wei Lizho looked at Yui Ching, and Zhang Yang said confidently. At the same table, then we will be opponents from now on. You have to be mentally prepared. When the time comes for the membership assessment, I won't let you in. Yui Ching. I applied to the Financial Auditing Department, which requires members to have certain mathematical abilities. If I remember correctly, you only scored 45 points in the morning math quiz. Upon hearing mathematics, Wei Lizho took a deep breath, and hurriedly asked worriedly. Do you want to learn how to settle accounts when you enter the discipline meeting? Yi Panbai gave Wei Lizho a disgusted look. He really has well-developed limbs and a simple mind. He explained aloud. Don't worry, the member of the disciplinary committee recommended you to join the picket department. This department is mainly responsible for discipline. You can use your well-developed limbs as much as you want. Discipline will have different departments, and each department has its own exclusive responsibilities. When Wei Lizho heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately. But who is the person who recommended me? He really knows me. Soon came the day of the Discipline Association's entrance examination. Each department has its own examination questions. When Wei Lizho saw Yu Weiyun appearing outside the assessment classroom of the Financial Auditing Department, he nudged Yui Ching with his elbow and said in a low voice, I've been looking forward to this good show for a long time. It's a pity that I can't see your assessment process. The reason why Yui Ching reported to the Financial Audit Department was because he knew that Yu Weiyun would report to this department. Seeing Wei Lizho's disappointed look, Yui said calmly. According to previous year's experience, the assessment of the Financial Audit Department usually ends relatively late. If you finish the assessment of the picket department earlier, you may be better than Yu Wei. Clouds come out earlier. When Wei Lizho heard this, he immediately became full of energy. Okay, I will try my best to make a quick decision. Students who signed up for the picket department, please enter room 402 to take the assessment now. Wei Lizho. At the same table, I'll go first. Yui Ching nodded slightly. The audit by the Financial Audit Department soon began. The first round of review by the Financial Auditing Department is a written test, taking time into account. Therefore, it is mainly multiple choice questions, and there is only one short answer analysis question combined with a specific case. After the allotted half-hour time for answering the questions, the members of the disciplinary committee collected the answer sheets and began to review them on the spot, giving out the results of the first round of assessment. Yui Ching entered the second round with the first place, and Yu Weiyun successfully passed the assessment with the ranking of the bottom of the crane after a period of hard work. Assessment host. Now there are only 16 people left on the field. Next, we will enter the second round of assessment. This round is a 1v1 question answering session. The top 8 contestants just now choose their opponents independently. Those who are ranked behind have no right to refuse. Those who answer the question correctly get 1 point, and those who answer wrong get 1 point deducted. Whoever gets 4 points first can enter the final round of interviews, and the loser is automatically eliminated. Yaoi, who do you want to choose as your answering opponent? When the rest of the people present heard the host asking this question, they immediately became nervous, and they all secretly prayed not to pick themselves. Yaoi looked around, and finally his eyes fell on Yaoi. Yaoi's face turned pale for a moment. In Yaoi's complicated eyes mixed with worry, anger and apprehension, Yaoi pronounced the name Yaoi lightly. Yaoi was so angry that he couldn't help clenching his fingertips. Why did Yaoi make things difficult for him? Why did he just look down on him? Yaoi's mind was already filled with anger at this moment. He knew that it was impossible for him to win Yaoi, and at this moment he was already frustrated and annoyed. Sure enough, Yaoi couldn't answer any of the questions asked by the question maker. Yaoi's final score was not even 0, but 0.2. He blindly rushed to answer for the sake of quickness, but unfortunately he got the wrong answer, which made him look even more out of control. Host. Now, I announce the score is 5.2. Yaoi advances and Yaoi is eliminated. Yaoi was already flushed with embarrassment at this time. He hurried out of the assessment classroom with his head down. Zhu Jinyang was waiting for Yaoi outside the assessment classroom at this time. Seeing Yaoi walking out, he happily greeted him. How is the assessment over? You should be fine. Yaoi lowered her brows and said in a low voice sadly, I'm sorry, I disappointed you, I was eliminated. Seeing this, Zhu Jinyang hurriedly comforted Yaoi, it's okay, it's just a discipline meeting, it doesn't matter if you don't join. Yaoi shook his head, his voice was full of grievances, I have already entered the second round of examination, and I can pass this examination now. But my brother. Forget it, I still won't say anything. Zhu Jinyang asked anxiously. Tell me, don't keep your grievances in your heart, it will damage your body. Yaoi looked hesitant, and said in a sad voice. My brother knows that I really want to enter the disciplinary committee. But he deliberately chose me as his opponent and eliminated me. Why is your brother like this? Is he still your real brother? Zhu Jinyang immediately began to fight for Yaoi. Yaoi was about to echo a few words, but out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw Yaoi walking out of the assessment classroom. Yaoi walked up to Yaoi, blocked Yaoi's way, and asked with a very concerned look. Brother, why did you come out of it so quickly? Zhu Jinyang snorted disdainfully at Yaoi, needless to say, he must have been eliminated. Yaoi's eyebrows and eyes were cold and indifferent, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I abstained voluntarily, not passively eliminated. Yaoi spoke the most irritating words in the calmest tone. Yaoi couldn't help losing his composure on the spot, he asked sharply. Why did you do this? Yaoi realized in an instant that his performance just now was not in line with his previous image. He hurriedly put on a pitiful and aggrieved look, and looked at Yaoi, brother, do you have any opinion on me? As long as you say, I can change it. Yaoi's brows and eyes flashed a piercing chill, and his voice was as cold as a pool of cold. Today's matter is just a small warning to you. Remember today's lesson, and don't bother me again, or you will only regret it even more. I'm not interested in playing a supporting role for you. If you want to act, you'd better find someone else. If you're still making fun of yourself, then I'll just tear off your mask. Yaoi's aura erupted for a moment, and both Yaoi and Zhu Jinyang were startled. After Wei Lizho passed the assessment by the picket department, as soon as he walked out of the assessment classroom, what he saw was the picture of the two people staring at Yaoi's leaving back in a daze. Seeing that Yuiching had gone far away, Wei Lizho trotted and chased after him. When Wei Lizho passed by Yu Weiyun, Zhu Jinyang and the others, he quickly glanced back at them and complained bluntly. Are these two playing fool statues here? Seeing Yuiching's figure getting farther and farther away, Wei Lizho didn't bother to pay attention to them, and hurriedly chased after Yuiching. At the same table, wait for me. Why are you so disrespectful and don't wait for me when you come out? Of. Yuiching heard Wei Lizho's noisy voice behind him. Immediately, I wanted to touch my forehead reflexively. Why is this person so energetic all day long, like a noisy perpetual motion machine? Although Yuiching complained in his heart, his pace slowed down unconsciously. After Wei Lizho caught up with Yuiching, he began to complain. It's a pity, I didn't see Yu Weiyun's expression when he was eliminated. As soon as I left the classroom, I saw the two of them standing there like two idiots. Over there. Yuiching. There is nothing to regret. Wei Lizho pursed his lips. You've seen it all, so of course you don't feel it's a pity. If I knew it earlier, I should have told you to help me secretly take a few photos or video. Yuiching. If one day he follows Wei Lizho and does such a stupid thing, then his brain must be broken. As the president of the disciplinary association, Lu Yiru will naturally pay attention to this new recruitment assessment. She and a short-haired girl from the disciplinary society were standing in the corner of the corridor. The behavior of Yu Weiyun, Yuiching, and Wei Lizho just now was naturally in her eyes. The short-haired girl asked Lu Yiru suspiciously. President, don't you know Wei Lizho? I don't seem to have seen you say hello to him. After all, Lu Yiru was the referrer of Wei Lizho's registration for the disciplinary association. Lu Yiru looked at the backs of Wei Lizho and Yuiching who were walking away with a smile, and said calmly, I know him, but he doesn't know me. The short-haired girl was instantly puzzled. What does this mean? Lu Yiru slightly hooked the corner of her lower lip without explaining too much. After school on Monday, Wei Lizho had just finished attending the welcome dinner of the discipline meeting. When he came home from outside, he bumped into Wei Xingnan who was rushing out at the door of his house. Seeing her appearance, Wei Lizho couldn't help asking. What's wrong with you, who made you unhappy? Wei Xingnan stopped in his tracks and explained. I just told my mom that I'm going to bring a friend to our house this Friday. Friends. Wei Lizho was a little surprised. The number of times Wei Xingnan took friends home is simply one of the few. Wei Lizho asked curiously. Is it a man or a woman? Wei Xingnan mistakenly thought that Wei Lizho was also curious about his love situation. She suddenly remembered her mother urging her to find a partner just now, and said angrily. The man is still a boyfriend. Ha! When did you have a boyfriend, and you still want to take home to meet your parents' boyfriend? Wei Lizho's voice suddenly became louder in surprise. I really can't be bothered to talk to Wei Lizho, an idiot. Wei Xingnan rolled his eyes at Wei Lizho directly, and continued to walk out vigorously. Don't go. Why did you suddenly have a boyfriend? Is this person reliable? Wei Lizho hurriedly shouted at Wei Xingnan. Wei Xingnan ignored it and even walked faster and faster. When Wei Lizho returned to the room, he was still shocked by the fact that his sister suddenly found a boyfriend. Wei Lizho sat at the table, rubbing his chin in thought. When that man comes, he must test that man to make sure that he is reliable. At this time, the mobile phone he placed on the table rang suddenly, and the mobile phone number on it showed Guangcheng. When Wei Lizho saw the name of the caller, a smile appeared on his face. After he answered the phone, he teased in a strange way. It's really rare, I actually received a call from our comrade Ling Heek. Ling Heek is also a sophomore this year. He and Wei Lizho used to grow up together in Guangcheng. Ling Heek's father and Wei's father are brothers who started a business together, and Ling's father is now the second in command of Wei's group. Because Ling's father is still handling some business in Guangcheng, Ling Hik and his family are still living in Guangcheng. A low and hoarse young male voice came from the other end of the phone. It seems that after you transferred to Haicheng, you should have a very happy life. Wei Lizho laughed. How do you know? I'm really doing well. Ling Hik said bluntly. When you were studying in Yucheng, you called me once a day on average to complain about being bored there. And since Wei Lizho transferred to Haicheng, his ears have become much clearer, and he no longer has to bear the bombardment of phone calls from Wei Lizho. I used to call you, didn't you still refuse to answer every now and then? Didn't you just find out that life has become boring without my call? Wei Lizho laughed triumphantly. Hearing Wei Lizho's arrogant laughter, Ling Hik on the other end of the phone was speechless for a moment. You think too much. Ling Hik's magnetic voice was full of helplessness. Wei Lizho. Humph, you're a dead duck with a stubborn mouth, so just argue. Ling Hik. As you understand, I hung up the phone. Hey. Wait. I need your help with something. Wei Lizho said to Ling Hik hurriedly. Don't write a review letter for you, don't do your homework for you, and don't pretend to be a parent. Ling Hik blurted out instantly. Hey. Who do you think I am, Wei Lizho? Wei Lizho complained to Ling Hik in dissatisfaction. Didn't I just ask you for help a few times? Why do you have such a stereotyped image of me? You can get down to business. Ling Hik directly interrupted Wei Lizho's chatter. Wei Lizho thought that he had to ask Ling Hik for help, so he decided to let Ling Hik go, and said to him. Aren't you smarter? Let me ask you, do you have any way to quickly detect what is a person's personality like? Wei Lizho felt that there was great power in numbers, so he could brainstorm and collect more ideas, so that he could put his sister's boyfriend to the test. Ling Hik's voice was a little puzzled. Why are you asking this? Wei Lizho immediately told Ling Hik that his sister was going to bring her boyfriend home next Friday. Wei Lizho didn't expect Ling Hik to be silent for a while after he finished speaking. Wei Lizho. Hey, Ling Hik, why is there no sound from your side? Is the signal bad? Ling Hik said in a calm voice, No, I'm just a little surprised about it. Wei Lizho repeatedly echoed. Right, you are also surprised. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. My sister's behavior was too sudden. I always thought she was single before, but I didn't expect her to be single. He suddenly said that he would bring his boyfriend back. I still have something to do, I'll see you later. Ling Hik suddenly interrupted Wei Lizho. Oh, then go about your business. As soon as Wei Lizho finished speaking, Ling Hik hung up the phone instantly. After a while, Wei Lizho came to his senses. No, Ling Hik hasn't told me what to do, why did he run away so fast? Wei Lizho muttered, forget it, I can ask Yuiching. Then when Wei Lizho went to school the next day, he dragged Yuiching to ask for a solution. Yuiching was so annoyed by him, so he listed a few techniques for observing people. After struggling for a few days, Wei Lizho finally felt that he was fully prepared. Friday, classroom. With a smug look on Wei Lizho's face, he said eagerly to Yuiching who was sitting next to him. But let me wait until this day. Before going out in the morning, my sister said that she would bring people home after 6 o'clock in the evening. By then, I will let her boyfriend know how powerful I am, and never dare to bully my sister after taking care of him. Yuiching. In this world, a man who can bully Wei Xingnan probably hasn't been born yet. Yi Panbai has been hearing Wei Lizho talking about this for the past few days. He turned around and complained. Wei Lizho, you are exaggerating a bit. Isn't your sister just going to bring a boyfriend home? Why are you making such a fuss? Wei Lizho crossed his arms and looked at Yi Panbai disdainfully. Do you have a sister? Yi Panbai shook his head, no, I am the only child. Wei Lizho snorted coldly with disdain, a person without a sister is not worthy to say such things to me. Yi Panbai. You are a sister. In law. I suddenly feel a little sympathetic to your sister's future boyfriend. Just thinking about you, my brother. In law, is enough. Wei Lizho was about to refute him, when he heard a boy outside suddenly ran into the classroom and shouted to everyone. Quick report! Quick report! Another transfer student is coming to our class. What? Another transfer student? Is this a treasure trove of geomantic omen in our class? Why are there so many transfer students? Wei Lizho was also a little surprised, and said to Yu Yiqing. It's really strange that there are transfer students like me who transferred in halfway. At this time, Yu Yiqing's eyes also flashed a little surprise. Because there were no transfer students in the previous life at this time. Yu Yiqing glanced at Wei Lizho, who was speculating with Yi Panbai on the identity of the transfer student. Could it be the butterfly effect caused by Wei Lizho? After a while, the head teacher showed up at the door of the classroom with a boy. After seeing the face of the transfer student, Wei Lizho blurted out in shock, "Damn." Yu Yiqing turned his head and glanced at him, "What's wrong?" Wei Lizho pointed to Ling Heek on the podium, and said to Yu Yiqing. The transfer student above is my best buddy since childhood. Yi Panbai, who was sitting in the front row, turned his head when he heard what Wei Lizho said, and asked, "Then why are you so surprised? Didn't he tell you beforehand that he was going to transfer to another school?" Wei Lizho was overjoyed, and said decisively. He must have wanted to give me a surprise, so he secretly transferred here without telling me. This kid has a really strict mouth, and he couldn't hold back when he called me a few days ago, "Speak out." On the podium, Ling Heek, who had a cropped head, sharp features and heroic spirit, saw Wei Lizho, who was whispering to someone at a glance. After the head teacher told the students about the transfer students in the class, he said to Ling Heek beside him. "Student Ling Heek, come and introduce yourself to everyone." Ling Heek's voice was dull, and his face said coldly. "Ling Heek, please give me more advice in the future." Under the stage, Yi Panbai looked at Wei Lizho and said, "Are you sure he is really your child? The difference in personality between the two of you is too great. What's wrong with the big difference? We call it complementary, do you understand?" Wei Lizho waved his hands and said in disgust. "Forget it, you probably only know your snack brands, asking you to understand these is really embarrassing for you." Yi Panbai sneered, "Heh, even if I only know the brand of snacks, my score in the physics test the day before yesterday was better than someone who only got 32 points in the test." Wei Lizho. "Don't you have any other tricks, you just know how to beat me with this." Yi Panbai was proud. There are not many good tricks, as long as there are enough. Wei Lizho was about to hate Yi Panbai, when he heard the head teacher say to Yi Panbai. "Yi Panbai, can Ling Heek sit in the empty seat next to you?" Wei Lizho hurriedly said to Yi Panbai. "This is my good buddy, so it is equivalent to your buddy. The seat next to you is just for snacks. Isn't buddy more important than snacks?" Yi Panbai really wanted to say no, but when he saw Wei Lizho's staring eyes, he had no choice but to succumb to Wei Lizho's pretentious power, and nodded to the class teacher on stage, "I have no objection." Ling Heek carried his school bag on one shoulder, walked slowly to the seat next to Yi Panbai and sat down. As soon as Ling Heek took his seat, Wei Lizho stretched out his hand and patted him on the shoulder, and said with a very bright smile. "You are really good at hiding things. When you were on the phone with me before, you could actually hold back and not talk to me. Explain, L.C. Anyway, you will know sooner or later." Ling Heek replied calmly. Wei Lizho. "What about Uncle Ling and Auntie Ling, have they moved to Haicheng too?" Ling Heek pursed his lips, "No, I'm alone." His parents objected to him transferring to this school now, and they reluctantly agreed to it because he insisted on asking. "Ling Heek, you are really my good brother. I never thought before that your brotherhood towards me is so deep." Wei Lizho patted Ling Heek's shoulder with emotion, and said, "From now on here, you can hang out with me. I will definitely help uncles and aunts take good care of you, and keep you from losing a hair. Ling Heek had black lines on his face. Yui Ching saw the interaction between the two people in his eyes, and noticed Ling Heek's helpless expression at this time. Yui Ching guessed that Wei Lizho might have overcompensated again. Yui Ching raised his eyes and took a quick look at Ling Heek. He also met Ling Heek in his previous life, but that should have happened a few years later. Yui Ching suddenly had some guesses about the reason for Ling Heek's sudden transfer. If it is what he thinks, Wei Lizho might be blown up when he finds out. Thinking of that scene, Yui Ching quickly flashed a wicked smile in his eyes. After a flash of a smile, Yui Ching was stunned for a moment. He never seemed to have had such a childish idea before. Noticing Yui Ching's strangeness, Wei Lizho lightly poked his shoulder with his finger. At the same table, what are you thinking about? You are so engrossed in thinking. Yui Ching quickly came back to his senses. He pursed his thin lips slightly, and concealed. It's nothing, just thinking about a math problem. Wei Lizho didn't have the slightest doubt, but said with emotion. There are still math problems that you can't solve. Yui Ching remained silent, his eyes lowered, his fan-like eyelashes concealing the thoughtful emotions in his eyes. It seems unknowingly he feels less and less distance from Wei Lizho. Seeing Yui Ching's thoughtful expression again, Wei Lizho thought he was still thinking about that math problem, so he turned his head and continued chatting with Ling Heek, who was sitting in front. After chatting with Wei Lizho for a while, Ling Heek suddenly mentioned. You said before that Sister Shengnan was going to bring her boyfriend home, so today is the time, right? Wei Lizho slapped his head. When you came here, I almost forgot about it. I was thinking of calling you home for dinner tonight, or tomorrow. I don't think there is anyone in our family tonight willing to entertain you. Ling Heek Meifeng retracted slightly. He was silent for a moment, and said. Didn't you ask me how to test people's character before? One more person can have more observation eyes. Besides, I don't need you to spend your time entertaining me. When you came to my house before, when did you see my parents specially entertaining you? Wei Lizho thought for a moment. That's true, then after school, you should come to my house to help pawn your eyes. Wei Lizho was gearing up. I want that kid to know that my sister is surrounded by two younger brothers. Ling Heek Meifeng held back slightly and remained silent. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon it will be time to leave school. As soon as the bell rang after school, Wei Lizho dragged Ling Heek to the school gate in a hurry, and as soon as he got in the driver's car of Wei's family, Wei Lizho urged the driver. Uncle Li, let's go home quickly, I have something important to do. Thing. The driver quickly drove the two of them to the gate of Wei's villa. As soon as Wei Lizho opened the car door, he ran home. Mother Wei was drinking scented tea and reading a book in the living room on the first floor. When she saw Wei Lizho rushing in, she asked suspiciously, What's wrong? Wei Lizho. Mom, sister, did she bring him back? Mother Wei shook her head lightly. No, why are you so anxious about this? Wei Lizho's eyes widened in shock. What is this matter? Why are you not worried at all, Mom? Mother Wei wondered, what's there to worry about? Wei Lizho was speechless. You are really my sister's real mother. You have such a big heart. Wei's mother glared at Wei Lizho. Can you speak? Do you want to write a self-criticism again? As soon as Wei Lizho heard the review letter, Wei Lizho flinched instantly. Forget it, I won't tell you anymore. I have to go upstairs to my room to get things. By the way, Ling Heek is behind me, do you remember to tell him, where is my room? After Wei Lizho finished speaking, he quickly went up the stairs. But Mother Wei looked surprised, and raised her voice to ask him. What is Ling Heek? He is right behind you. At this time, Wei Lizho had already rushed up to the second floor quickly. After Mother Wei finished asking, she also saw Ling Heek appearing in her sight. Mother Wei was both happy and surprised. She hurried towards Ling Heek. You child, why didn't you come here without telling me in advance? Even if Auntie wants to add more food now, let people go to the market to buy vegetables again, and the fresh and good things will probably be picked up by people. A faint smile also appeared on Ling Heek's face. Auntie, don't be so busy. I'm not picky. Mother Wei. Indeed, you are much easier to support than Wei Lizho. Are you here to play with Wei Lizho on vacation? Ling Heek shook his head slightly, and explained. Auntie, I have also transferred to Wei Lizho's school now. Ah. Why so suddenly? Mother Wei was a little surprised. Ling Heek pursed his lips slightly. I think Wei Lizho's school is better than my previous school, so I asked my parents to help me transfer. Mother Wei nodded understandingly. That's true. What about your parents, did any of them come with you? Ling Heek. I'm not young anymore, I can take care of myself. My dad bought me a house near the school, and the security there is very good. Wei's mother was a little worried. Even so, it's still inconvenient for you to live alone. Why don't you move to Auntie's house? We still have a lot of rooms. I'll let you and Wei Lizho live across the street. The corners of Ling Heek's lips raised slightly. No, thank you Auntie. My mother also found me a housekeeping auntie, and she will help me prepare 3 meals a day. Mom, have you finished talking? Let Ling Heek come up, I have something to see him. Wei Lizho suddenly poked his head out from the stairs on the second floor and shouted towards the first floor. Wei's mother curled her lips and complained to Ling Heek. Wei Lizho's quick temper is exactly like his father. You go up and play with him, if he bullies you, you come to see Auntie. Ling Heek nodded lightly. Auntie, I'll go upstairs first. Mother Wei. Go, go. I'm going to order the kitchen to make steamed grouper. I remember you like this dish. The corner of Ling Heek's mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. Okay, thank you, Auntie. After a long time, Wei Lizho took Ling Heek out of the room and came to the living room on the first floor. Seeing Wei Lizho's appearance, Mother Wei asked, are you planning to do something to me again? Can't there be more trust between people? Why do you always think that I will cause trouble? Wei Lizho complained. Mother Wei frowned, smiled and asked, shouldn't you ask yourself this question? Wei Lizho curled his lips and said, forget it, I won't argue with you. Just rest assured, I will definitely not cause trouble this time. Usually when Wei Lizho says that, it means he's planning to cause trouble. Wei Xingnan, who was wearing a peacock blue dress, said as he walked into the living room. As soon as Wei Lizho saw Wei Xingnan appearing, he hurriedly looked behind her with his head. Seeing Wei Xingnan was followed by a tall, thin young boy in his 20s, Wei Lizho gave him a scrutinizing look, and the boy had a polite smile on his face. Wei Lizho snorted coldly in his heart and smiled, it didn't look like a good thing. Noticing that he was carrying several shopping bags in his hand, Wei Lizho curled his lips again, putting on a show, he had to be careful. Wei Lizho bypassed Wei Xingnan, and stretched out his hand to the young man. Hi, I'm Wei Lizho, Wei Xingnan's younger brother. The young man was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly put all the shopping bags in his hand to the other, and extended his hand towards Wei Lizho. When the two hands were clasped, Wei Lizho deliberately squeezed it hard. The young man was stunned for a moment, and the gentle smile on his face did not change at all. Wei Lizho took a deep breath in his heart, this person is so good at superficiality. When Wei Lizho was feeling worried, Wei Xingnan slapped the back of his head with a snap. Wei Lizho let out a hiss instantly in pain. Wei Xingnan. Wei Lizho, why are you crazy, are you childish? Wei Lizho covered the back of his head, looking at Wei Xingnan with a grieved and indignant expression. His sister actually attacked him to protect this little boy. It's simply a matter of emphasizing and despising younger brothers. At this moment, the young man suddenly said to Wei Xingnan. Everything has been delivered, Miss Wei, I won't bother you. The young man handed over several shopping bags in his hand to the Wei family nanny at the side. Seeing the back of the young man leaving, Wei Lizho was stunned, turned to look at Wei Xingnan, and asked, "Who is he?" "Wei Xingnan. A clerk in a store I often go to. I ordered some things from their online store and asked him to deliver them to our house today. I happened to meet him at the door just now." Wei Lizho hurriedly asked. "What about your boyfriend?" "Boyfriend?" Wei Xingnan froze for a moment. "Where did I get a boyfriend?" "You said it before, you said you would bring your boyfriend back today." "I remember it clearly." Wei Xingnan finally remembered her angry words before. She suddenly understood Wei Lizho's actions just now. She laughed out loud in an instant, even laughing so much that her eyes started to shed tears. At this time, Wei's mother finally understood why Wei Lizho was so wrong today, and there was a dumbfounding smile on her face. After Ling Heek saw the reactions of Wei Xingnan and Wei's mother, he suddenly had a guess in his heart. Maybe he shouldn't listen to Wei Lizho's one-sided words. Wei Lizho was puzzled. Was what he said so funny? Perhaps I should be Sister Xingnan's boyfriend. Lu Yiru appeared behind Wei Xingnan, teasing Chow Wei Lizho. Seeing Lu Yiru in school uniform appearing in front of his eyes, Wei Lizho's eyes widened in shock. What's going on? As for his sister's boyfriend, why did he become senior sister of Lu Yiru? Lu Yiru greeted everyone present politely. Wei Lizho was still very surprised. With an unbelievable expression on his face, he asked Wei Xingnan, "So the person you said to bring home is senior sister Lu? Then you told me before that you wanted to bring your boyfriend home." Wei Xingnan. "I was angry at the time, and I didn't know you would take it seriously." Ling Heek's brows, which had been frowned slightly all the time, suddenly and slowly relaxed at this moment. Realizing that he had made a mistake, Wei Lizho muttered, "Then my previous preparations were in vain." What? Wei Xingnan didn't hear what Wei Lizho said clearly. "It's nothing, nothing." Wei Lizho waved his hands hastily, he smiled dryly, and changed the subject. "I never thought that sister, you would know senior sister Lu. Why didn't you tell me before?" Wei Xingnan. "There is nothing to say. She is my friend, not your friend." Wei Lizho curled his lips. What a cold and heartless woman. Lu Yiru smiled, and said softly to Wei Lizho. "Before you came to Haicheng, Sister Xingnan often mentioned you to me when chatting with me." Wei Lizho looked determined. "Needless to say, she must be speaking ill of me." Wei Xingnan patted the back of his head again angrily. "Yes. It's just talking bad about you." Lu Yiru looked at the noisy scene in front of her, a smile flashed in her eyes. She has always secretly regarded Wei Xingnan as an object of admiration. Wei Xingnan used to behave very mature and capable in front of her, but now in front of Wei Lizho, a younger brother, he is a little more childish. And when Wei Xingnan finished speaking with Wei Lizho, he noticed the existence of Ling Heek, who was silent on the side. She was very familiar with Ling Heek, the younger brother next door, so she blurted out and asked, "Toffee, don't you go to school in Guangcheng, why are you here now?" Ling Heek was very white when he was a child, so his parents gave him the nickname Toffee. Hearing Wei Xingnan call himself this nickname, Ling Heek's stern face suddenly became hot. He pursed his lips, turned away slightly, and explained in an awkward voice. "I have now transferred to Wei Lizho's school." Before Wei Xingnan could reply, Wei Lizho exclaimed, "I'll go." Wei Lizho looked at Ling Heek's face curiously. "Are you the real Ling Heek? You can't be pretending to be someone else. My sister called you Toffee, and you reacted so calmly. I didn't know that before. I called you as a joke, but you almost beat me to death." Ling Heek's ears turned red with a boom. He gritted his teeth and glared at Wei Lizho. "You deserve it." Wei Xingnan smiled heartily, and said to Ling Heek. "It must be Wei Lizho who provoked you first again."
Otherwise, with such a steady personality like yours, you will definitely not be able to quarrel with him. Wei Lizho complained to Wei Xingnan in disgust. Do you know whose real sister you are? I am your real younger brother, why are you standing on his side and talking? Wei Xingnan raised his hand and flicked his forehead. Okay, kid, let's go play. I still have something to discuss with Lu Yiru. After Wei Xingnan finished speaking, he said to Lu Yi, let's go to my study on the second floor. Lu Yiru nodded. Wei Xingnan turned back to Wei's mother and said, Mom, remember to ask Auntie to prepare an extra set of bowls and chopsticks. Lu Yiru will have dinner at our house tonight. Mother Wei nodded lightly. Go, you big sister, take good care of little classmate Lu Yiru. Hearing that she was called a little classmate by Wei's mother, Lu Yiru's usually calm face rarely showed a trace of embarrassment. When it was time for dinner, Mother Wei even brought food to Lu Yiru again and again, for fear that she would not be able to eat well because of her politeness. Father Wei didn't show up at the dinner table today because of the dinner. Apart from the 3 members of the Wei family, there were only 2 guests, Lu Yiru and Ling Heek, at the dining table. Mother Wei, Lu Yiru, and Wei Xingnan were eating while discussing the new autumn and winter products of various fashion brands. Wei Lizho found it boring, so he turned his head and said to Ling Heek who was sitting beside him, they talk about their girls, so let's talk about ours too. Ling Heek swallowed his meal unhurriedly. What do you want to talk about? Mathematics, English, or Chinese? Wei Lizho. I'm eating, can't you talk about some appetizing topics? Mother Wei smiled gloatingly when she heard their conversation, and said to Wei Lizho who was devastated. Why can't these topics be appetizing? Wei's mother looked at Ling Heek. I think this topic is very good. You talk to Wei Lizho more, Auntie is really worried about his grades. Wei Lizho hastily pulled the remaining mouthfuls of rice in the bowl into his mouth, and after a meal, he stood up and said, I'm full, let's go first. After all, it was as if the soles of his feet had stepped on a hot wheel, and he ran away without a trace. The rest of the people at the table couldn't help showing a bit of a dumbfounding smile on their faces. Mother Wei laughed and scolded. This boy is really off. If he is willing to study one day, I really want to burn incense and worship Buddha to thank God. The short weekend passed quickly, and it was Monday in a blink of an eye. Since Ling Heek transferred in midway, the rest of the students in the class had already formed a study group. After obtaining the consent of Yui Qing and Yi Panbai, Wei Lizho included Ling Heek into their study group. When Wei Lizho heard the group name, Playing Cards 3K1, Ling Heek's stern brows and eyes were filled with speechlessness. Ling Heek. Isn't it against harmony for a study group to have this name? Wei Lizho. Where is it against harmony? We call it work and rest, do you understand? And, education through fun, is one of our school mottos, and we chose this name entirely to pay tribute to this school motto. Yi Panbai, who was sitting next to Ling Heek, couldn't help laughing. Are you sure this is a tribute? Why do I think that if the school motto has a soul, it might think it's depressing? Wei Lizho gave Yi Panbai a blank look. People say that a dog is not too poor, but you are also a member of our group, and you actually despise our group name. Ling Heek. Inexplicably, there is a feeling of being on a thief ship and not getting off. This kind of group name, can't you dislike it? Those who don't dislike have problems. Yi Panbai snorted, and retorted Wei Lizho. Now our team has 4 people, and your group name of, Playing Cards with 3 missing 1, is no longer in line with the actual situation, and it is time to eliminate it. Want to change the group name? No way. Wei Lizho's eyes widened, and he said righteously. When did it fail? Can you imagine the scene of Yui Qing playing cards with us? Yui Qing. If Wei Lizho didn't use him as a weapon, wouldn't there be quarrels? Yi Panbai retorted angrily. You are sophistry. I don't care, I suggest that we should rethink a group name and decide it according to the voting principle of the minority obeying the majority.
Just when Ling Heek was about to voice his support, he heard Wei Lizho categorically say. The proposal is rejected. Yi Panbai. Why do you reject it? Wei Lizho leaned on the back of the chair, crossed his legs, and said leisurely. Because the team leader has a veto power. Yi Panbai. Damn it. Is this power another setting you added to yourself 3 seconds ago? Wei Lizho gave Yi Panbai a thumbs up. You got the answer right, but unfortunately there is no reward. I announce that the name of our group is still, playing cards, 3 misses and 1. Yi Panbai was dissatisfied, so he looked at Yu Yiqing who had been silent all the time and said, Yu Yiqing, please tell me your opinion. You should also despise this name for being silly. If you also object to this name, then Wei Lizho is the polished commander. Wei Lizho instantly turned his head to look at Yu Yiqing, looking at him with anticipation in his eyes. Yu Yiqing originally wanted to agree with Yi Panbai, but after feeling Wei Lizho's extremely presence-filled gaze, he pursed his lips and swallowed back the words that had reached his throat. Yu Yiqing. I have no objection. Yeah. Wei Lizho clenched his fist and waved it excitedly. Did you hear that? Wei Lizho yelled at Yi Panbai. Yu Yiqing said he has no objection, which means that he is very supportive of the name, playing cards with 3 missing 1. Yu Yiqing. Wei Lizho's comprehension ability has always been admirable. Yi Panbai looked at Yu Yiqing in disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. Ling Heek looked at Yu Yiqing with a little surprise. Yu Yiqing usually doesn't care about other people's gaze, but now he is a little uncomfortable being watched by the two of them, and Wei Lizho's excited laughter comes from his ears from time to time. Yu Yiqing feels awkward after realizing it. He stood up suddenly and said, I'm going to the bathroom. Wei Lizho smiled triumphantly at this moment. Go. Wei Lizho also thoughtfully asked. Do you need me to accompany you? I am extremely happy. Yu Yiqing almost staggered as he walked out. No need. Yu Yiqing said without turning his head, and walked out of the classroom quickly, as fast as someone was chasing after him. After Yu Yiqing left, Wei Lizho proudly said to Yi Panbai. Now you can completely give up. Ha ha ha. Hearing Wei Lizho's arrogant laughter, Yi Panbai began to think about the possibility of seeking to usurp the throne. But when he thought that Wei Lizho, a faint lord, had a sycophant like Yu Yiqing beside him, he instantly dismissed the idea. Yi Panbai. Their group is hopeless. At this moment, Yu Yiqing, who was in the bathroom, thought of what happened just now, and a trace of regret and embarrassment flashed in his eyes from time to time. If he knew that Yi Panbai was still secretly comparing him to Wei Lizho's sycophant at this time, he might regret it even more. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Several days have passed since Ling Heek transferred to another school. Grade 2, Class 8, break time between classes. Yi Panbai, who was sitting on the seat, just thought of a joke. He was about to turn around and tell Wei Lizho, when he saw Wei Lizho patted his deskmate Ling Heek, and said to Ling Heek. When I went out in the morning, my mother asked you to come to my house for dinner tonight, will you come? Ling Heek nodded his head lightly, and let out a Yi Panbai instantly lost the interest in talking to Wei Lizho just now. He lowered his head and curled his lips. Really, ever since Ling Heek transferred to another school, Wei Lizho and Ling Heek were as good as conjoined twins. What's so good about Ling Heek's boring gourd? When Yi Panbai was feeling slightly sour, Wei Lizho suddenly patted his shoulder from behind him. Yi Panbai turned his head, and said to Wei Lizho angrily, what are you doing? Wei Lizho was a little puzzled. Why are you so dark? Who messed with you? Yi Panbai snorted heavily, it has nothing to do with you. Talk about something. Wei Lizho. Yu Yiqing just suggested to go to the library after school today to finish the mathematics group homework assigned by the teacher. Ling Heek and I have no objection, what about you? Yi Panbai's voice was stiff. You all agree, what else can I say? Did you take gunpowder these days? The smell of gunpowder is so strong. Wei Lizho looked puzzled. A faint smile flashed across Ling Heek's eyes. Wei Lizho was wrong, it wasn't the smell of gunpowder, but a strong smell of vinegar. Yi Panbai's childish behavior these days has long been noticed by Ling Heek. Hearing what Wei Lizho said, Yi Panbai felt more and more aggrieved. He pursed his lips, turned around and refused to talk to Wei Lizho. Lizho continued to communicate. Wei Lizho laughed angrily at his unreasonable appearance, and cursed. Hey, why is your bad temper getting bigger and bigger? The class bell rang immediately. During class time, Yi Panbai looked at the dense chalk writing on the blackboard, but his mind began to wander to what happened during the break just now. Thinking of his impulsive and unreasonable troubles after he became emotional just now, he felt annoyed for a while, wishing to bury his head in the drawer. Yi Panbai felt frantic for a while. This class was like sitting on pins and needles, fidgeting, and the seconds seemed like years. Finally, after this get out of class was over, he was about to turn around and bow his head to Wei Lizho, when Wei Lizho patted his shoulder again. Yi Panbai pursed his lips in confusion, turned around and looked at Wei Lizho, and heard Wei Lizho grinningly said. I'm starving to death, do you want to go to the school bakery to buy food? Wei Lizho didn't take this trivial matter to heart at first, but after a short class, he has completely forgotten what happened just now. Seeing Yi Panbai just staring at him in a daze, Wei Lizho waved his hand in front of him and urged, why are you in a daze, should you go? Go. Yi Panbai stood up abruptly. Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai walked towards the door of the classroom. Yi Panbai suddenly asked Wei Lizho, why didn't you ask Ling Heek to accompany you? Wei Lizho looked puzzled, why should I call him? Yi Panbai's face, which had been strained for a class, showed a smile instantly. He tried his best to purse the corners of his mouth, but the smile still trickled out from his eyes and the corners of his mouth. It seems that his friend still has some status in Wei Lizho's heart. Ling Heek doesn't like to eat bread, and he just transferred to another school. He's not as knowledgeable about food as you are. He doesn't even know what kind of bread is the best in the school's bakery. The smile on Yi Panbai's face disappeared in an instant. He looked at Wei Lizho fiercely, and said in a slow and gloomy tone. So that you just want to drag me to be your shopping guide? Yes. Wei Lizho nodded with a face of course. Go to with me, Wei Lizho. With a flash, Wei Lizho dodged a quick kick from Yi Panbai, a nimble little fat man. Wei Lizho. Hey, how dare you sneak attack? Your father, I'm going to show you how powerful you are today. Ah. Wei Lizho, you bastard, let go quickly, my hand is about to break. Quickly tell me, do you know that you are wrong? You are a rebellious son, you really broke my father's heart. The sound of the two fighting could still be vaguely transmitted to the class even after walking some distance outside the classroom. In the classroom, Yu Yiqing and Ling Heek looked at each other, and they both saw the speechlessness towards these two people in each other's eyes. After a while, Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai returned to the classroom. With a bang, Wei Lizho placed a large bag of bread and several cups of drinks heavily on the desk. Yu Yiqing. Did Wei Lizho evacuate the entire bakery? Noticing the look in Yu Yiqing's eyes, Wei Lizho smiled triumphantly. These are all apologies from Yi Panbai. Yi Panbai gritted his teeth, you said that yourself, I didn't say that. Wei Lizho waved his hand, it doesn't matter, anyway, you are the one who pays the money by swiping the card in the end. Wei Lizho took out a glass of iced Americano from the drink bag and put it on Yu Yiqing's table. Here, I saw you drink this before, so I bought this for you. Yu Yi said calmly, thank you. Wei Lizho said to Yu Yiqing. Bread or something, see for yourself if you like it, pick whatever you want, anyway, it's Yi Panbai's treat. Yi Panbai was so angry that he glared at Wei Lizho again. Wei Lizho took out another glass of lemon sparkling water and handed it to Ling Heek in the front row. After Ling Heek raised his hand to take it, he said to Yi Panbai beside him, "Thank you." Yi Panbai pursed his lips uncomfortably, "You're welcome." While unpacking the bread, Wei Lizho said to Ling Heek in front, Yi Panbai offered to buy the drink. After Wei Lizho took a bite of the croissant, he said with emotion. "Although Yi Panbai has a poisonous mouth, I didn't expect him to be a good tablemate, and he would think of a tablemate who doesn't eat bread. This tablemate is really touching." Yi Panbai clenched his fists in anger, gritted his teeth and said, "Wei Lizho. Shut up." Wei Lizho laughed out loud. Yi Panbai's unspeakably aggrieved appearance also made Yu Yiqing and Ling Heek smile a little. The next day, the head teacher stood on the podium and emphasized again to everyone. "Tomorrow is the day when we hold the first parent-teacher meeting this semester. You all remember to remind your parents to attend on time." Wei Lizho patted Ling Heek who was sitting in front of him, "Are your parents coming tomorrow? If not, I'll ask my mother to hold a parent-teacher meeting for you." Ling Heek said calmly. "Let Auntie open it for me. His parents are still angry about his sudden transfer of schools." Wei Lizho. "All right then, I'll go back and talk to my mother at night." Wei Lizho turned his head, just about to ask Yu Yiqing who was beside him to borrow the get-out-of-class schedule to see the class that will be held later, when he remembered that Yu Yiqing just got up and went out to answer the phone. Seeing Yu Yiqing's back, Wei Lizho was about to speak to him when he noticed that his brows were slightly frowned, and his face seemed a little gloomy. "Wei Lizho. What's wrong with you? Looks like he's in a bad mood." Yu Yiqing said softly. "It's okay." Seeing Yu Yiqing's expression of not wanting to say more, Wei Lizho didn't ask any more questions. Wei Lizho couldn't help but observe Yu Yiqing quietly all day, and found that Yu Yiqing frowned much more frequently than before. After school in the afternoon, when Wei Lizho was packing his school bag and preparing to go to the Sonda Club to participate in club activities, he heard a phone call ringing suddenly in Yu Yiqing's drawer. Wei Lizho glanced at Yu Yiqing's desk, and muttered, "It's so strange that Yu Yiqing actually left his phone in the drawer." Hearing that the phone rang for a while and then stopped, Wei Lizho continued to pack his things. But after a while, the phone rang again. Wei Lizho continued to ignore until it stopped by itself. But when the phone rang for the third time, Wei Lizho frowned in confusion. Someone should come to Yu Yiqing for something urgent. The phone kept ringing. Wei Lizho bent down and took out the vibrating phone from Yu Yiqing's drawer. When he was about to see who the caller was, his finger accidentally touched the "answer" button on the screen. Wei Lizho panicked for a moment, and was about to explain the situation to the person on the other end of the phone when he heard the voice of a middle-aged man on the other end of the phone. "I asked for you. Because they are in urgent need of money, they are willing to sell the laboratory at a reduced price. As for how much it can be reduced, it is still up for discussion. But even if there is a price reduction, the final price will definitely not be cheap. Are you sure you do have enough funds?" Wei Lizho froze for a moment, and after he realized it, he hurriedly explained to the man. "I'm not the real person, he doesn't have the phone with him right now. You stay, what are you doing?" Yu Yiqing's voice suddenly sounded behind Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho was so frightened that his hands trembled, and he almost smashed Yu Yiqing's cell phone to the ground because he couldn't hold it steady. Wei Lizho turned around and saw that Yu Yiqing's eyes were fixed on the mobile phone he was holding. He suddenly felt guilty, and hurriedly handed the phone to Yu Yiqing, explaining in a dry voice. "This person called a few times just now, and I accidentally pressed the answer button." Yu Yiqing gave an expressionless yes. He took the mobile phone handed over by Wei Lizho, glanced down at the screen of the mobile phone, and saw that the phone was still being answered. He turned and walked outside the classroom. Wei Lizho looked at the back of Yu Yiqing walking out of the classroom to answer the phone. He scratched his head in confusion. Did Yu Yiqing believe his explanation just now? Thinking that Yui Ching might misunderstand that he was a villain prying into other people's privacy, Wei Lizho was so annoyed that he patted his right hand with his left hand. I made you disobedient just now, now you're causing trouble. Yui Ching was standing by the window in the corridor outside the classroom. He was listening to the voice on the phone. When he accidentally looked into the classroom, he saw the picture of Wei Lizho beating himself. Yui Ching. Yui Ching quickly ended the phone call and re-entered the classroom. Yui Ching put the stationery and books on the table into his school bag. Wei Lizho raised his eyes and glanced at him, and said cautiously. I didn't mean to answer your phone call, are you not angry? Yui Ching stopped cleaning up, raised his head and looked at Wei Lizho. You also said that you were not careful. I don't need to be angry because of the accident. That's good. Wei Lizho breathed a sigh of relief instantly. Yui Ching picked up the packed school bag and said, I still have something to do, so I'm leaving first. Confirming that Yui Ching was not angry with him, Wei Lizho nodded happily, see you tomorrow. Looking at the back of Yui Ching walking out of the classroom, Wei Lizho suddenly recalled what the middle-aged man said on the phone just now. Wei Lizho frowned thoughtfully. What did that person mean by the laboratory? Wei Lizho suddenly associated this call with Yui Ching's low pressure today. Could it be that Yui Ching is short of money now? After arriving at this conjecture, Wei Lizho was stunned for a moment. Seeing that Yui Ching was about to walk out of the classroom door, he hurriedly shouted, Yui Ching, you. As soon as Wei Lizho said the words, he suddenly began to hesitate again. Isn't it inappropriate to ask so bluntly? Yui Ching stopped in his tracks and looked at Wei Lizho, who was hesitant to speak with a puzzled expression. Do you have anything else to say? Wei Lizho struggled for a moment, and finally smiled awkwardly at Yui Ching. No, it's nothing, I just want to tell you that your shoelaces are a little loose, remember to tie them well. Yui Ching looked down at the very firmly tied shoelaces. Although he was puzzled, he still said, I see. Seeing Yui Ching's figure disappear from his sight, Wei Lizho scratched his head frantically. Ah! What is the right way to ask? This question still troubled Wei Lizho until the parent meeting the next day. Yi Panbai saw Wei Lizho's gloomy face early in the morning, and he gloated and said, Wei Lizho, are you worried that your grades are not good, and your mother may criticize you after the parent-teacher meeting? Ha! Wei Lizho lay lazily on the table, raised his eyelids and gave him a disgusted look. Can you make your pattern bigger? Yi Panbai snorted dissatisfiedly. You have a big picture, so why don't you talk about your frowning face for some earth-shattering event? Wei Lizho waved his hand at him in disgust. Go aside, don't disturb my thinking. This is Yui Ching's privacy, how can he tell others casually, not even Yi Panbai? Yui Ching glanced at Wei Lizho out of the corner of his eye. Wei Lizho is indeed a little abnormal today. Compared with his energetic appearance in the past, he looks a little depressed today. It's rare for him to show such an appearance, but for a while, it makes people feel a little uncomfortable. Report. 800 miles, hurry up. The enemy has arrived at the bottom of the teaching building one after another, and is attacking in the direction of our base camp. Please prepare for battle. Hearing the news that the parents were about to arrive at the classroom instantly became chaotic. Everyone hastily checked their desks and drawers again to make sure that those things that cannot be seen by their parents have been stuffed into hidden corners, so that they will not suddenly appear later and bring them a surprise. Parents will be arranged next to their children's desks when they have a meeting later. The classroom is very spacious, and there is a chair for parents beside each desk. Parents soon began to show up in classrooms. And the first parent who appeared in Wei Lizho's corner was Yui Ching's mother. Yu Weiyun happily held Yu's mother's arm, walked to Wei Lizho's table, and said to Yu's mother, Mom, this is where brother sits in class. Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai greeted Mother Yu politely. Mother Yu smiled at them. Thanks to you for taking care of our Yui Ching. After Mother Yu said 2 or 3 polite words to them, she quickly left with Yu Weiyun. Wei Lizho was a little confused. Did he come and go in such a hurry? Not even a minute is enough. Wei Lizho couldn't help but ask Yu Yiqing. Yu Yiqing, will the seat next to you be your father or your mother? It's empty. Yu Yi turned a page of the book calmly. Yu's father refused to come to the parent-teacher meeting, and Yu's mother came to the school alone. Ah! Wei Lizho was a little surprised. He suddenly recalled the matter of the school uniform before, and instantly realized the seriousness of Yu Yiqing's parents' partiality. Wei Lizho suddenly felt a little sour in his heart, mixed with a bit of resentment. Looking at the scene not far in front of the classroom, Yu Weiyun was joking with Yu's mother and Zhu Jinyang. Wei Lizho snorted dissatisfiedly in his heart. I really have no vision. Yu Yiqing is such a good son, but he doesn't know how to cherish it. What are you doing with such a face? Don't you welcome me to the parents' meeting? Mother Wei walked up to Wei Lizho and teased. When Wei Lizho saw Mother Wei, a smile appeared on his face. Mom, you are here. After everyone greeted Wei's mother looked at Yu Yiqing tenderly, and said with a smile. Wei Lizho has been mentioning you at home, I guess he must have caused you a lot of trouble. Wei Lizho retorted dissatisfiedly. I didn't do it, I can obey the law at school. Mother Wei laughed and said, who is it that was called the parent on the first day of the report? Wei Lizho. Why do one or two of him like to turn over old scores? Seeing Wei Lizho's deflated appearance, Yu Yiqing quietly flashed a smile in his eyes. Wei Lizho does things properly, and I won't feel troubled. Yu Yi said calmly to Wei's mother. Did you hear that, mother? My deskmate thinks I'm fine. Wei Lizho took a chicken feather as an arrow, and instantly swelled with pride. Mother Wei smiled when she saw them singing together. The parent-teacher meeting started soon, and the class teacher analyzed the grades of the students in the class with the parents as usual. Mother Wei couldn't help but be a little surprised when she heard from the head teacher that Yu Yiqing's grades in all subjects were always the first in the grade. Although she knew that Yu Yiqing got into this school by taking an exam, she never expected him to be so good. Noticing that there was no one on the other side of Yu Yiqing's side, Wei's mother mistakenly thought that Yu Yiqing's parents hadn't come to the parent meeting. After the parent meeting, the school also gave the students a half-day off in the afternoon. On the way home, Mother Wei, who was sitting in the back compartment, asked Wei Lizho, I didn't seem to see your parents at the same table just now. Did they not come because they were busy with work? Wei Lizho. No, Dee is here. Mother Wei was puzzled, then why didn't I see it? Just before we left, a boy brought his mother to greet you, do you remember? Mother Wei nodded, I remember, but what does this have to do with your tablemate? Thinking of Yu Weiyun and his eccentric mother, Wei Lizho snorted, and explained to Wei's mother. That Yu Weiyun is my younger brother at the same table. Although my mother at the same table came to school, she just taking care of Yu Weiyun, he didn't give my tablemate any extra attention. The more Wei Lizho talked, the more dissatisfied he became, and he complained about the school uniform to Wei's mother. After listening to Wei Lizho's words, Mother Wei's face showed a bit of surprise, she frowned, really, why are parents like this? Wei Lizho put his hands on the back of his head, maybe it's because there are sweets for crying children. My deskmate is shy and introverted, and his younger brother is sweet-talking. Sometimes I worry that my deskmate will eat him. Brother's depression. Thinking of the phone call he accidentally received yesterday, Wei Lizho sighed old-fashionedly, oh, this child is really worrying. Wei's mother was still in a dull mood, but when she heard Wei Lizho's words, she laughed outright, Wei Lizho, how old are you? Let's just talk about this child. I think your deskmate looks more mature and stable than you now, maybe he takes care of you instead of you worrying about him. Wei Lizho disagreed when he heard this, what, I protected my tablemate from suffering several times. I treat my tablemate like an old hen protecting its chicks, lest he be hurt. It's a bit of a bully. Mother Wei laughed softly, and said perfunctorily. Okay, Mother Chicken, then you will take good care of your little chick from now on. Seeing his mother's teasing appearance, Wei Lizho snorted angrily. With a smile on her face, Wei's mother said to Wei Lizho, "Son, your chicken cub's grades are so good, which is in stark contrast to yours. Have you ever thought about what causes this? Do you even need to ask? Of course it's because of a genetic mutation." Wei Lizho looked confident. The driver sitting in the driver's seat couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Mother Wei cast a helpless glance at Wei Lizho. It seems that to expect Wei Lizho to be enlightened and study his own is simply daydreaming and wishful thinking. The day after the parent meeting, recess time. Yi Panbai turned around and suggested to Wei Lizho and the others. "After school today, why don't you go to the library to find a discussion room and finish the group assignments assigned by the English teacher just now, so that you won't have too many homework backlogs in hand superior." Wei Lizho. "Why don't you go to my house? The discussion room has to be reserved, and it should have been reserved by now." Yi Panbai. "That's fine." Yui Qing and Ling Heek had no objection to this either. After school in the evening, the group set off towards Wei Lizho's house. Mother Wei saw a few of them appearing, and said to them happily, "It's rare to see Wei Lizho bring friends home to study, this is really the first time in history." Wei Lizho. If it wasn't for group homework, he actually didn't want to do it. Although complaining in his heart, Wei Lizho still retorted with a righteous face, "What's so strange about this, I'm a student anyway." Mother Wei smiled and said to them, "Go up to the study on the second floor and study, Auntie won't bother you." After Wei Lizho and others entered the study on the second floor, Yui Qing was still in charge of the overall situation, and he quickly arranged suitable work content for everyone. Seeing them studying in the study for a while, Mother Wei thought that they might be hungry now, so she brought some snacks and drinks from the kitchen. Knock knock knock. Hearing the knock on the study door, Wei Lizho, who was scratching his head and looking up information in the dictionary, raised his head and shouted, "The door is unlocked, come in." Mother Wei pushed open the door with the dinner plate. Seeing the large plate of things in Wei's mother's hand, Wei Lizho stood up and rushed to her, took the food plate from her hand. "There are so many things, just let me go down and get them." Mother Wei smiled indifferently, "Anyway, I have nothing to do, so I just walk around as exercise." Seeing Wei Lizho's two stupid hairs raised on his head, Wei's mother couldn't help laughing and said, "It seems that you study hard." Wei's mother raised her hand to press down Wei Lizho's raised hair. "Okay, I'll go downstairs first. You guys continue to study, remember to eat something to cushion your stomach when you're hungry." Wei's mother left the study room, and when she turned and closed the door, she glanced into the room. Wei Lizho was holding a piece of toast in his mouth, and was flipping through a thick dictionary with both hands. Yui Qing was searching for relevant information on the computer at this time. He raised his head and said to Wei Lizho, "Wei Lizho, turn over the grammar book and briefly sort out the usage of the subjunctive mood and common sentence patterns." Wei Lizho didn't have the slightest bit of impatience, and gave an extremely obedient When Wei's mother saw Wei Lizho's serious study, a gleam of relief flashed in her eyes. After she closed the door, she thought to herself that Wei Lizho seemed to obey his tablemate Yui Qing very much. It would be nice if they could have this kind of group work often. In the evening, before Wei Lizho and the others finished their homework, Mother Wei called them down to have dinner first. At the dining table, Wei's mother had been secretly observing Yui Qing, and found that Yui Qing was more mature and stable than his peers. Wei's mother felt more and more that Wei Lizho and Yui Qing could become friends, which was simply a great thing. The more Wei's mother observed Yui Qing, the more she liked him, and the more she liked and appreciated him. After Wei Lizho and the others finished their meal, they went back to the study to continue their homework. Mother Wei looked at Yui Qing's thin back going upstairs, and thought of what Wei Lizho had said to her before. She was very puzzled by Yui Qing's parents. Such a good child, why the parents don't dote on him, but treat him unfairly. The more Mother Wei thought about it, the more she felt sorry for Yu Yiqing and felt wronged for him. As time passed and the night darkened, the pendulum clock in the study slowly pointed to the number 9. I'm exhausted, I finally see the dawn of victory. Wei Lizho sat on the chair and stretching his body. Yi Panbai also showed a relaxed look of relief on his face. Yu Yiqing was in charge of the final integration work. He raised his head and said to Yi Panpan and Ling Heek, who was silent at the side. The part you are responsible for has been completed, you can go home first. I will finish the remaining part soon. Yi Panbai and Ling Heek saw that they could not be of much help if they stayed here, so they all nodded and left one after another. Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing were left in the study soon, and only Yu Yiqing's typing on the keyboard could be heard from time to time in the study. Wei Lizho raised his head, and quietly glanced at Yu Yiqing, who was sitting at the desk opposite to him, who was concentrating on finishing work with his computer. In the past 2 days, Wei Lizho has been thinking about the phone call he accidentally received the day before yesterday. He pursed his lips and wanted to ask Yu Yiqing directly if he was short of money. But he was afraid of offending Yu Yiqing and hurting his self-esteem. Wei Lizho felt that he was about to be entangled to death. At this moment in his mind, it was as if two villains were fighting. The public says the public is right, the woman says the woman is reasonable, there is no way to decide the outcome. Yu Yiqing was concentrating on watching the content on the screen, and noticed that the study was surprisingly quiet, so he raised his head to look at Wei Lizho, and happened to meet Wei Lizho's eyes looking at him. Caught off guard and met Yu Yiqing's eyes, Wei Lizho's heart almost jumped out of fright, and he hastily withdrew his eyes in a panic. Seeing the guilty look on Wei Lizho's face opposite, Yu Yiqing frowned slightly in puzzlement. He guessed and said, "If you feel bored staying in the room, you can go out, don't stay here with me. I will finish the rest of the work soon." Hearing what Yu Yiqing said, Wei Lizho hurried down the donkey and said, "Then I'll go out first to get some air." As soon as Wei Lizho finished speaking, he hurriedly escaped and hid. Seeing Wei Lizho's eagerness to leave the study, Yu Yiqing was somewhat puzzled. Why does Wei Lizho look a little bit wrong? When Wei Lizho walked to the living room on the first floor, he saw Father Wei and Mother Wei there. Wei's father had already learned from Wei's mother that they came to Wei's home to do their homework today, and he asked Wei Lizho suspiciously. "Isn't your desk mate going to be a tutor after school? Why do I have time to do it with you today?" Operation. Father Wei only found out about Yu Yiqing's work as a tutor when he sent Yu Yiqing back on the day of the school report. Wei Lizho. He doesn't seem to have done it recently. Wei Lizho was also a little uncertain when he said this, but he knew that Yu Yiqing was not in a hurry to go home after school these days, but would go to the library to stay for a while. It was the first time Mother Wei heard about Yu Yiqing being a tutor. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and an idea came to her mind. Wei Lizho listened to Wei's father and the others chatting for a while in the living room, when he suddenly heard very light familiar footsteps behind him. He turned around, looked at Yu Yiqing who was walking towards him, and asked, "You mean it's all settled?" Yu Yiqing nodded, and then greeted Wei's father and Wei's mother. Father Wei glanced at the dark sky outside, and said, "It's almost 10 o'clock, I'll ask the driver to take you back, it's safer." Wei's mother frowned slightly, and when she was about to make a sound, there was a sudden boom of thunder outside, and it rained heavily in an instant. Hearing the sound of cracking rain, Wei's father changed his words. "If the rain becomes lighter in a while, I'll ask the driver to take you back. It's not safe to go out now." Yu Yiqing didn't intend to be brave, he nodded, "That's troublesome." Wei Lizho looked at Yu Yiqing, and suggested with full expectation. "Then take advantage of this time, let's go to my room and play games for a while." "Wait." Mother Wei gave Wei Lizho a disgusted look, then smiled and said to Yu Yiqing. "Student Xiaoyu, Auntie has something to discuss with you, can you accompany Auntie to the study?" Although Yu Yiqing was a little puzzled, he still nodded and said softly, "Okay." Wei Lizho looked puzzled. "Mom, what can you discuss with me at the same table? Mother Wei ignored Wei Lizho and took Yu Yiqing directly to the study on the second floor. Chapter 28. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In the study room, the light was dim and soft, with a halo as soft as tulle. Despite the pouring rain outside, the atmosphere inside the house was peaceful and serene. Wei's mother sat on the red fabric sofa. She looked at Yu Yiqing with warmth in her eyes, and she asked softly, "Xiao Yu, can I call you Yiqing?" Yu Yiqing almost never got along with an elder who was as gentle and kind as Wei's mother, so he nodded a little uncomfortably. "Yiqing, I heard that you were a tutor after school." Yu Yiqing didn't think there was anything to be ashamed about. He nodded generously. "Yes, what are you asking?" "Auntie wants to make a deal with you. Do you want to consider being a tutor for Wei Lizho?" Mother Wei looked at Yu Yiqing tenderly. "Just take some time off every weekend to make up lessons for him. I know you have excellent grades, so I'm willing to give you a salary of 20,000 a month." The reason why Wei's mother is willing to give Yu Yiqing such a high salary is that on the one hand, it is rare that someone can control Wei Lizho and drive him to study, and on the other hand, she feels sorry for Yu Yiqing and wants to help him. Hearing Mother Wei's proposal, Yu Yiqing's eyes flashed with surprise. Yu Yiqing pursed her lips. "I'm sorry, Auntie, I can't make this deal with you." Yu Yiqing raised her eyes, and saw that even though Wei's mother was rejected, she still looked at her with kind and tolerant eyes. His ears were a little hot and a sudden impulse surged in his heart. "But I want to make another deal with you. Can you lend me 1 million? After a month, I will pay you back 10 million. As soon as Yu Yiqing said the words, he began to regret it. His eyes drooped down, annoyed that he had lost his head and lost his mind for a while. Even if you worry that you don't have enough funds to buy that foreign laboratory, you shouldn't go to the doctor in a hurry. Of course, the money to buy the laboratory was more than 1 million. But Yu Yiqing intends to use this million to make money in the stock market, and make a lot of money. Yu Yiqing's eyelashes fluttered slightly. He thought he would hear Mother Wei's merciless refusal or questioning, but he heard Mother Wei's voice softly say. "Then what is your bank account number? Auntie will transfer the money to you now." Yu Yiqing raised his head abruptly. "Don't you suspect that I'm lying?" There was a gentle smile in Wei's mother's eyes. "I believe in you, and I also believe in Wei Lizhou's way of looking at people. Since he regards you as a reliable friend, then Auntie can naturally trust you without any worries." Yu Yiqing was stunned for a moment. Suddenly he didn't know how to react. Mother Wei saw that Yu Yiqing was uncomfortable. She smiled and patted Yu Yiqing's hand. "There is no need to be stressed, there is no rush to pay back the money. When you are capable, it is not too late, and you only need to pay back the money. 1 million will do. Pay 10 million a month or something. Auntie won't engage in illegal loan sharking." Mother Wei laughed teasingly. Yu Yiqing pursed her thin lips slightly. "What you just told me about making up lessons, can I come over every weekend afternoon from now on? Have you changed your mind?" Mother Wei was a little pleasantly surprised, but in an instant she became a little worried, and said, "But are you able to make it this far, and will it affect your own studies?" "No, I can take care of it." Mother Wei was still a little worried. "Then if you feel that you can't handle it, you must tell me." "Well, you can give me your bank account." Yu Yiqing gave Wei's mother his bank account number. While transferring the money, Mother Wei said, "I'll also transfer the tutoring fee to you by the way." Yu Yiqing clenched her fingertips and said in a low voice, "Tutors don't need to pay." Mother Wei raised her head and looked at Yu Yiqing with disapproval. 1 yard is worth 1 yard. If you work hard, you should be rewarded. My money has already been transferred, and you have to collect it anyway. Yu Yiqing couldn't resist Wei's mother, and secretly decided to invest the tutoring fee that Wei's mother gave her into the stock market. After that, she would return the 10 million that she just told Wei's mother and the profits from the investment to Wei's mother. Even though Wei's mother just said that Yu Yiqing only needs to pay back the principal of 1 million. But Yu Yiqing didn't listen to it. He still planned to act according to his original plan. Outside the study, Wei Lizho leaned sideways on the door of the study, trying to hear the movement in the study with his ears pricked up. It's a pity that the door of the study room is that kind of heavy mahogany door. The sound insulation effect is surprisingly good. Wei Lizho didn't even hear the slightest movement. He curled his lips and muttered, "What are these two talking about inside? Why haven't they come out for so long?" Wei Lizho was so curious that his heart itched unbearably. Just as he was about to press his ear to the door again, the door of the study was suddenly opened. Wei Lizho reacted quickly, stood up quickly, and pretended to be nonchalant. Wei's mother could see what Wei Lizho was planning at a glance. She looked at Wei Lizho with a smile, and said, "What, did you hear anything?" Wei Lizho pretended to be stupid. "Huh. Mom, what are you talking about?" Mother Wei showed a nuclear, gentle smile. "Don't worry, you'll know everything later." Mother Wei said to Yu Yiqing, "Let's go, the rain has gradually stopped now, it will be too late if you don't go home." Yu Yiqing nodded and followed Mother Wei down the stairs. Wei Lizho was even more curious by what his mother said just now. He followed behind the two and asked repeatedly, "What did you say? Why are you so mysterious?" Both Wei's mother and Yu Yiqing ignored him, so Wei Lizho had no choice but to accept the fact that he could not know the truth for the time being. Wei Lizho and Wei's mother sent Yu Yiqing to the gate, and the driver was already waiting outside the gate. Wei Lizho had regained his vitality at this time. After Yu Yiqing got into the car, he was still standing at the door and waved goodbye to Yu Yiqing happily. "Yu Yiqing, see you tomorrow." Seeing his bright smile that was still bright in the dark, Yu Yiqing suddenly thought in his heart, after Wei Lizho knew the news later, maybe he would hope that he would never see him again. After seeing the car carrying Yu Yiqing disappear into the night, Wei Lizho returned to the living room. After a while, Wei Lizho's surprised and angry voice instantly resounded in the living room. "What?" Wei Lizho's grief-stricken voice sounded as if it could shatter the ceiling. "Mom, say it again. I suspect that I seem to be hallucinating." Wei Lizho looked in disbelief, and said, "What do you mean? Yu Yiqing has been giving me extra lessons since this weekend. My language comprehension seems to have a problem suddenly. Listen, I don't understand that." Mother Wei smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't understand, it won't change the fact anyway." "No. I object, I strongly object." Wei Lizho protested repeatedly. Mother Wei's voice was soft, but her attitude was very strong. "Objection is invalid, I have already discussed it with that child Yiqing." Seeing his mother's appearance, Wei Lizho felt ashamed for an instant. He fell straight back, collapsed on the sofa, with a look of lovelessness. "You are so cruel, there is no humanity at all." The next day, morning. When Wei Lizho walked into the classroom with his schoolbag on his back, Yu Yiqing was already sitting in his seat. As soon as Wei Lizho saw Yu Yiqing, he immediately spread his legs and ran towards his position. Before he arrived, he raised his voice and complained to Yu Yiqing. "Yu Yiqing, you traitor, you actually teamed up with my mother to deal with me." Yu Yiqing paused slightly, and said softly, "I don't remember when I belonged to your camp." Wei Lizho sat down on his own seat, with a sad face. "Even if you are not on my side, then you can't stand on my mother's side." Wei Lizho said with a serious face. "If you tell my mother now that you change your mind, then I will forgive you for this betrayal." "Yu Yiqing. If you don't forgive, what will happen?" Wei Lizho scratched his head and thought for a while, then said harshly. "Then I will break up with you." "How is it, are you starting to get scared?" Yu Yiqing nodded slightly. Just as Wei Lizho was about to show a smug smile, Yu Yiqing continued to speak. "If you want to break up the relationship, can you start now?" Yu Yiqing seriously doubted that Wei Lizho would keep nagging about this in his ears today. If he starts breaking up now, then his ears will be cleared up. The arc of the smile on Wei Lizho's face froze in an instant. Wei Lizho. Yu Yiqing, what a ruthless person. Yi Panbai, who was sitting in the front, heard their conversation, turned his head in doubt and asked, did something happen? Ling Heek also cast a questioning look at Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho cracklingly explained the matter to Yi Panbai and Ling Heek. Ha ha ha. Yi Panbai let out a gleeful laugh in an instant. A smile flashed across Ling Heek's face, and he said to Wei Lizho, your grades really need to be improved. Wei Lizho lay down on the table with a face ashamed, and said in a weak voice, you are making things worse. Traitors, you are all traitors. It was rare for Yi Panbai to see Wei Lizho deflated, so he patted Wei Lizho's shoulder in embarrassment. Don't you think what we say is not pleasant? That's right. Faithful words are harmful to the ears and good deeds, and we are doing this for your own good. Why don't you hurry up and thank us for our great kindness? Tomorrow will be a beautiful weekend. It's a pity that I can't see you making up lessons. Wei Lizho raised his eyelids and glanced at Yi Panbai, his voice was cool and cold. Believe it or not, Dad will take you to with me. Yi Panbai was so frightened that he instantly retracted his chubby claws, for fear of Wei Lizho's retaliation. Seeing Wei Lizho's pitiful appearance, Yu Yiqing couldn't help but feel a little funny in his heart. Isn't it just making up lessons? As for such an exaggeration. No matter how reluctant Wei Lizho was, Yu Yiqing still showed up at Wei's house on Saturday afternoon. Wei's house, study room. Wei Lizho is ready for a tenacious resistance today. He sat behind the desk, raised his eyes and carefully glanced at Yu Yiqing, who was sitting across the desk. Wei Lizho cleared his throat, and said with a confident look, I'm not in the mood to study now, I need to play 2 games to adjust my mood. Yu Yiqing flipped through the books in his hand with a normal expression, without raising his head, he said. Got it. Wei Lizho. That's it. Didn't Yu Yiqing try to persuade him? Wei Lizho quietly observed Yu Yiqing from the corner of his eye, and seeing that he really had no intention to stop him, he deliberately opened the game book on the table, and clicked on a shooting game he often played. The loud game background music rang in the study instantly. Wei Lizho sneaked a glance at Yu Yiqing again. Yu Yiqing was still sitting firmly like a mountain, with a calm expression on his face, without any change. Wei Lizho frowned, puzzled. Could it be that Yu Yiqing really doesn't care that he plays games during make-up classes? Wei Lizho deliberately coughed twice. I'm going to start playing. Yu Yiqing didn't even lift his head. Wei Lizho originally thought that Yu Yiqing would stop him, but Yu Yiqing left him alone, which made him feel uncomfortable. Wei Lizho finally couldn't bear it any longer. He looked up at Yu Yiqing, and tentatively asked, do you have any objection to my playing games? As my tutor, shouldn't you persuade me to study hard? Yu Yiqing slightly closed the book in his hand, and looked at Wei Lizho with amber eyes. He said softly. Why should I advise you? Studying is your own business. If you don't want to study, then no matter how much I talk about it, I'm playing the piano with you. And I have already received the supplementary tuition fee from my aunt. How about your grades, and will not affect my income? Wei Lizho. So, I play games, but it saves you trouble. If you want to say that, then it is indeed true. After Yu Yiqing finished speaking, he lowered his head and continued to read the page of the book he had just seen. Wei Lizho saw that Yu Yiqing regarded him as heir again, and suddenly felt that playing games became a bit boring, and a rebellious psychology was born in his heart. He curled his lips. I don't want to play games now, I plan to study. A smile quickly flashed across Yu Yiqing's lowered eyes. He looked up at Wei Lizho, and asked calmly, you don't need to play games to adjust your mood. Right. Yu Yiqing. Once I start making up lessons, even if you don't want to study anymore, you can't stop without my permission. Wei Lizho hummed, and said. Understood, I won't play tricks, don't worry. When Mother Wei quietly opened the door of the study, what she saw through the crack of the door was the scene of the two teaching and studying hard. When Mother Wei saw this scene, a flash of relief flashed in her eyes. But finally there was someone who could restrain Wei Lizho. Ha ha ha, am I a hidden genius, but I just haven't realized it before. Wei Lizho looked proudly at the few questions he got right. Yu Yiqing. Yu Yiqing. Come here and do these few questions that I just came up with. When Wei Lizho heard this, he froze instantly. Why are there still? Yu Yiqing knew that Rome was not built in a day, so he said, after completing these few questions, get out of class will be over. Wei Lizho regained his vitality in an instant, full of energy. Wei Lizho quickly finished the questions given by Yu Yiqing. Looking at Yu Yiqing who was checking the answers with his head down, Wei Lizho recalled the phone call he had accidentally received before. Reminiscing about Yu Yiqing coming to teach him as a tutor, Wei Lizho strengthened his previous guess. After Yu Yiqing checked the questions, he raised his eyes again, and saw that Wei Lizho's eyebrows were almost twisted into twists. Yu Yiqing. What's wrong with you? Wei Lizho struggled for a while, worried that if he said his words, it would make Yu Yiqing unhappy. Seeing Wei Lizho's hesitant expression, Yu Yiqing urged, speak up if you have something to say. Wei Lizho swallowed nervously. Did I really say that? Yu Yiqing frowned suspiciously. What's wrong with Wei Lizho? He never spoke so slowly in the past. Wei Lizho looked up at Yu Yiqing, and asked cautiously. Yu Yiqing, are you short of money recently? Yu Yiqing raised his eyebrows slightly. Why do you ask that? Where did Wei Lizho hear the news? Yu Yiqing didn't think Wei's mother would tell Wei Lizho about him. It's just that I accidentally heard your call before, and then I guessed it based on some signs. Wei Lizho pursed his lips. If you need it, I can lend you all my pocket money. Anyway, I don't need to spend money very much, and it's useless to put it in my hands. Wei Lizho was afraid that Yu Yiqing would have concerns, so he hurriedly added. You don't have to worry about paying back the money, you can pay me back later when you have money. Yu Yiqing. No need. Hearing Yu Yiqing's refusal, Wei Lizho became anxious all of a sudden. Do you think it would be embarrassing to borrow money from me? You really don't need to care about such small details. Don't grit your teeth and hold on by yourself. I know you don't like to owe others, but it's okay to accept help from others occasionally. Wei Lizho spoke as fast as a machine gun, and instantly spit out all the words he held in his heart. Wei Lizho was worried that Yu Yiqing would stubbornly refuse to accept his help, and when he spoke, his face began to flush slightly with anxiety. Yu Yiqing raised her eyes and saw his appearance. She was stunned for a moment, and the string deep in her heart suddenly seemed to be gently moved by someone. He couldn't tell what he was feeling at this moment, he only knew that this feeling was something he had never experienced before. Yu Yiqing immediately suppressed the inexplicable strangeness in his heart, and explained in a low voice. Your mother has already helped me solve my difficulties. Wei Lizho suddenly remembered that he wanted to donate the library to the school on the day of reporting at the beginning of the school year, but he was a slow step like now. His mother seems to be always ahead of him when it comes to spending money on people. Wei Lizho grumbled and complained. My mother is really, can't you give me a chance to show off? Every time she beats me to show off, my bank card is useless. Seeing some disappointment on Wei Lizho's face, Yu Yiqing's crow-like eyelashes trembled slightly, and he slightly pursed his thin lips. I will find you next time I have a chance. As soon as Yu Yiqing's voice fell, Wei Lizho hurriedly said, Bah, several times. Your words sound too unlucky, it feels like cursing yourself for an accident. Forget it, I don't have a chance to show off. Best thing ever. The reason why Wei Lizho said that just now was just a casual sigh. He knew that Yu Yiqing had a strong self-esteem, and he didn't want to see the picture of Yu Yiqing bowing his head to others from the bottom of his heart. Even if the object of Yu Yiqing's bowing his head was himself, it was still the same. When Wei Lizho thought of that scene in his mind, his heart felt astringent, and he felt an indescribably uncomfortable feeling. Wei Lizho came back to his senses, and seeing Yu Yiqing staring straight at him, he suddenly laughed happily, and his brows and eyes were instantly dyed as dazzling as stars by the bright smile. He rested his elbows on the table, propped his chin with both hands and looked at Yui Ching. His voice was full of smiles. Yui Ching, are you touched now that you have such a good tablemate like me? Yui Ching saw Wei Lizhou's appearance, he pursed his lips, turned his head slightly, don't say something unrealistic. Wei Lizhou was not shocked by Yui Ching's words at all, his eyes were full of light, and he said to Yui Ching expectantly. Then can I ask you a more practical question? Just say what you want to say. Yui Ching's indifferent voice still had a trace of unnoticeable awkwardness. Yui Ching put all his attention on the question that Wei Lizhou was about to say, but he heard Wei Lizhou's voice full of expectation. When you make up the class tomorrow, can you give me 2 less papers? Yui Ching. Why did he have undue expectations for Wei Lizhou's question? Seeing Yui Ching's silence, Wei Lizhou continued to preach. Look at me being so kind to you today, aren't you moved? Don't you want to give me a little reward for my good deskmate? Yui Ching continued to look at Wei Lizhou in silence. Seeing Yui Ching's appearance, Wei Lizhou smiled dryly. Silence means acquiescence, right? Ha ha ha, today's weather is really nice. Yui glanced at the gloomy weather outside the window. He looked at Wei Lizhou, and said in a cold voice, Wei Lizhou, have you heard the idiom of repaying kindness with pictures? And you don't even have N, and you have already started repaying with pictures. It is impossible to do less than 2 papers, not even 2 less questions. With a few words, Yui Ching knocked the floating Wei Lizhou back to the ground. Wei Lizhou wailed, and lay down on the table in pain, you man, so cruel. So ruthless. Seeing Wei Lizhou's funny appearance, a smile flashed in Yui Ching's eyes, but he still said with a cold face. Shut up, say one more word, and do one more test paper tomorrow. Wei Lizhou was so frightened that he closed his mouth tightly in an instant, and even kept blinking at Yui Ching, using his eyes and gestures to signal that he had closed his mouth. Yui Ching couldn't laugh or cry in his heart. He tried his best to purse the corners of his lips, suppressing his smile, and said with a cold face. Among the few questions you did just now, one of the questions was wrong. You should re-examine your own process of doing the questions. Yui Ching put his corrected question in front of Wei Lizhou. Seeing Wei Lizhou lowering his head to answer the questions, the corners of Yui Ching's mouth finally couldn't hold back and curled up. What a fool! Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ever since Yui Ching became his tutor, Wei Lizhou found that he was like a grandson with a magic spell. In the beginning, Yui Ching only cared about his study on weekends. But gradually, Yui Ching didn't even let go of his school time from Monday to Friday. The number of topics that Wei Lizhou does in a week now is almost the amount he did in the previous year. But on this day, after the math teacher handed out the test papers for the quiz, Wei Lizhou laughed from ear to ear when he saw his results. Wei Lizhou put his test paper in front of Yui Ching with a snap. Yui Ching glanced at the test paper with downcast eyes, and from the corner of his eye, he saw Wei Lizhou's complacent expression begging for praise. A smile appeared on his brows and eyes, and he said softly, you did well in the test. Wei Lizhou waved his hands pretending to be modest. That's it, I have to continue to follow you. Yui Ching still scored full marks in this quiz. After Wei Lizhou showed Yui Ching, he reached out and patted Yi Panbai on the shoulder. How did you do in the exam? Yi Panbai turned around and gave him a blank look, 59 points. Wei Lizhou laughed triumphantly, and seeing Yi Panbai glaring at him, he quickly retracted the smile on his lips, patted Yi Panbai on the shoulder, and comforted him earnestly. Next time, try harder, say it might pass. Yi Panbai. If it wasn't because he couldn't beat the Wei Lizhou, he would have fought 300 rounds with Wei Lizhou. After Wei Lizhou gained a sense of accomplishment from Yi Panbai, he just put his hands on Ling Heek's shoulders and was about to speak when Ling Heek said without looking back, 99 points. Wei Lizho instantly let go of the hand on Ling Heek's shoulder in disgust. He snorted, "What's so great about a score of 99? As for telling everyone you meet, my deskmate has a perfect score, so I haven't advertised it everywhere. Ling Heek, you have been a little drifting lately, you have to reflect on yourself." Ling Heek, take it back. I don't know who is the person who gets swollen after getting 61 points in the test. Yi Panbai couldn't see Wei Lizho's complacent look, he rolled his eyes in disgust, and said to Wei Lizho, "Didn't you get a passing grade because of Yu Yiqing as a tutor?" Wei Lizho crossed his legs, "Why does this sound a bit sour? You can also ask your deskmate to teach you." Yi Panbai glanced at the taciturn Ling Heek beside him, and shivered instantly. He couldn't even imagine that scene just by imagining it. In fact, Yi Panbai still feels a little unbelievable that Yu Yiqing would agree to be Wei Lizho's tutor. As soon as Wei Lizho saw Yi Panbai's trembling exaggerated reaction, he immediately patted the table and laughed. "Ling Heek, are you so disgusted by Yi Panbai?" Ling Heek glanced at Yi Panbai helplessly. Although he felt that the conversation between Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai was naive, he couldn't help being speechless seeing Yi Panbai's reaction so strongly. Seeing Ling Heek looking at him, Yi Panbai twitched the corners of his mouth in embarrassment. Yi Panbai also felt wronged. This cannot be blamed on him at all, he is not as big-hearted as Wei Lizho. Whether it was Yu Yiqing or Ling Heek, Yi Panbai still couldn't understand how Wei Lizho could ignore the iceberg faces of these two people as if nothing had happened. Wei's study room, Sunday. Wei Lizho completed the task assigned by Yu Yiqing earlier than expected. Yu Yiqing wanted to untie Wei Lizho, so he said, "That's all for today's make-up class. Long live." Wei Lizho cheered instantly. Seeing that Yu Yiqing was about to leave after packing up his things, Wei Lizho hurriedly said, "Anyway, it's still early, why don't we play a few games together?" Yu Yiqing. "I'm not interested in games." "Don't refuse so soon, at least it's not too late to make an assertion after playing 2 rounds. Wei Lizho held on to Yu Yiqing's school bag, trying to make Yu Yiqing change his mind and stay. Seeing Wei Lizho's appearance, Yu Yiqing felt a little helpless in his eyes. "There is only one computer here, go and get a notebook." Wei Lizho happily jumped up from the chair instantly. "You wait, I will go to my room to get my game book now." Wei Lizho soon came back with a game notebook. Wei Lizho asked Yu Yiqing, "Do you have an account? What do you think?" Yu Yi looked back lightly. "Okay, then you can play with my other number." After Yu Yiqing boarded the account given by Wei Lizho, he felt helpless for a moment when he saw the notification from the game system that his friends were online. System. "Dear, Frost Leaf read in February Flowers, player, your partner, sit in a boat and love Fong Lin evening, is already online, go and interact romantically with him." Yu Yiqing. So this is a couple account. Wei Lizho. That's right, I specially set up a trumpet to complete the mission of couples. Wei Lizho looked proud. I even specially spent a lot of money to buy a lot of beautiful clothes for this account, and every one of them looks good on my body. You can open your warehouse to have a look, and change whatever you like. Yu Yiqing. He was not interested in the skirts and women's clothing that filled the warehouse. Yu Yiqing glanced at Wei Lizho's computer screen, and saw that his game character was also shiny and full of money. A bit of helplessness appeared in Yu Yiqing's eyes. Did Wei Lizho turn the gunfight competitive game into a dressing-up game? Wei Lizho didn't notice Yu Yiqing's psychological thoughts. He jokingly teased Yu Yiqing. "Call me Dad, I will be your Vitra mask later." Yu Yiqing cast a glance at him, ignoring his words. Wei Lizho frowned and sighed, "Oh, children who have entered puberty are indeed prone to rebellion." Yu Yiqing. Are you still playing games? If not, I'll go back now. Wei Lizho hastily withdrew his dramatic performance. Play, start now. Wei Lizho and the others played a 2-player match, with a total of 50 teams, and the group of players who survived in the end was the winner. Wei Lizhou's skills are indeed as superb as he said. Under his cover, Yu Yiqing's game experience is not bad. When it came to the final decisive battle, only their group and another group of players were left in the game. After Wei Lizhou and Yu Yiqing cooperated to kill one of them, the remaining one started to curse on the public channel in the game because he couldn't afford to lose. Trash couple. I wish you a happy breakup. I wish you this dog couple are brothers and sisters who have been separated for many years, even if they are in love, they can't be together. After Wei Lizhou saw his cursing on the public screen, he couldn't help chuckling. Yu Yiqing. He's scolding us. Wei Lizhou turned his head and blinked at Yu Yiqing suspiciously. He's scolding a dog couple, so what's the matter with our father and son? Yu Yiqing. While venting his anger on the public frequency, the man hid in the dense grass, not daring to act rashly. Wei Lizhou didn't have the patience to play hide and seek with him. So he kept shooting, trying to find out where he was hiding. We found him. Wei Lizhou's mouth curled up slightly. The foul-mouthed player was hiding in the bushes and moving back quietly, when suddenly there was a bang, a bullet quickly shot his head and took him away. Victory! Wei Lizhou looked at Yu Yiqing with a smile. Another game. Yu Yiqing checked the time on the computer, and it was almost evening, so he said, I have something to do later, I have to go back first. Wei Lizhou sighed regretfully. Okay, then I'll let the driver take you off. When Wei Lizhou sent Yu Yiqing out, he saw Yu Yiqing getting into the car and leaving alone, and suddenly had an idea on a whim. Car, trunk. O.org. Looking at Wei Lizhou sitting next to him, Yui cleared his voice helplessly. What are you doing here? Wei Lizhou. Anyway, I'm fine at home, so I'll just go out for a drive. Yu Yiqing. That it is indeed something that Wei Lizhou can do. The driver quickly sent Yu Yiqing to the downstairs of his residential area. Wei Lizhou also got out of the car, and looked around curiously. So your house lives upstairs? Is it the 8th floor? Yu Yiqing nodded lightly. I'm going up, you can go back. Wei Lizhou. Okay. When Wei Lizhou was about to turn around and go back to the car, he heard the voice of an old woman behind him. Xiao Yu, is this your friend? The old grandma appeared in front of Wei Lizhou and Yu Yiqing pushing a small cart with 2 bags of rice on it. Yu Yiqing greeted the old man, Grandma Li. The old man smiled and said to Wei Lizhou. It's rare to see Xiao Yu bringing friends back. I live upstairs from his house. Wei Lizhou smiled and said, Grandma, I am Yu Yiqing's desk mate. The old man patted Wei Lizhou's arm. The young man looks really cute, thank you for taking care of Xiao Yu, who is usually at school. Wei Lizhou. Yu Yiqing is my desk mate after all, taking care of him is what I should do. Yu Yiqing, what on earth does Wei Lizhou have the face to say such a thing? Yu Yiqing used to be taken care of by Grandma Li when he was a child. When he was shut out by his father in the cold winter months, it was usually Grandma Li who took him home to take care of him. Therefore, Yu Yiqing has a relatively close relationship with her now. Seeing that Grandma Li was about to start chatting with Wei Lizhou, Yu Yiqing said to Grandma Li, do you want to carry these 2 bags of rice upstairs? Let me help you. The old man was a little embarrassed. Why don't I go upstairs and ask my son to come down, he is at home anyway. Don't disturb you young people because of me. Yu Yiqing. I won't disturb you, he's leaving now. I have to go upstairs anyway, it's a matter of convenience. Wei Lizhou glanced at the 2 bags of rice on the old man's trolley, then at Yu Yiqing's thin figure, and said suspiciously. Are you sure you won't be caught after climbing to the 9th floor with these 2 bags of rice? Tired and passed out. Yu Yiqing. You think too much. Wei Lizhou picked up a bag of rice. I think it's better to have 1 bag per person. Yu Yiqing was a little helpless, so he had to pick up another bag of rice. Granny. Then I will trouble you too. I have to wait downstairs for the milkman to come. Can you go upstairs first? Yui Ching nodded slightly. Holding a bag of rice in his arms, Wei Lizho kept talking while climbing the stairs. When he climbed to the 7th floor, Yui Ching, who rarely exercised, was too tired to deal with him. Wei Lizho was still talking about the game they played at Wei's house with great interest. Wei Lizho joked with a smile. When there is a chance next time, Dad will take you to play again. Yui Ching cast him a disgusted look. Can you be quiet for a while? With a snap, there was the sound of a plastic bag falling to the ground from the stairs in front, and several empty beer bottles rolled down the stairs. Wei Lizho raised his foot to step on a beer bottle passing by, and picked it up. He and Yui Ching turned the corner in the middle of the stairs, and saw Mother Yu's face was slightly pale. After seeing them, a slight smile appeared from the corner of her mouth, and she bent down to pick up the garbage bag that fell on the ground. Wei Lizho suppressed the smile on his face just now, and coldly handed the beer bottle he had just picked up to Mother Yu. Yu's mother smiled politely at him, and explained. Just now, my hand slipped and I didn't hold the garbage bag properly. Wei Lizho let out an, in a deep voice, turned his head to Yui Ching and said, let's move the rice up quickly. Yui Ching nodded lightly, followed behind Wei Lizho, bypassed Yu's mother, and walked upstairs. Mother Yu stared straight at the back of Yui Ching going upstairs. When Yui Ching was about to turn around the corner of the stairs and disappear from her sight, she suddenly raised her voice a few decibels and shouted at Yui Ching. I Ching. Yui Ching stopped, turned around, stood on the stairs and looked down at her, with a cold voice. What's the matter? The corners of Mother Yu's lips curled up slightly, showing a gentle smile, and she said softly, remember to go home early for dinner, dinner is almost ready. Yui Ching's brows and eyes were cold. I've already eaten. After Yui Ching finished speaking, ignoring Yu's mother's reaction, he turned to Wei Lizho who was puzzled and said, let's go. After moving me to Grandma Li's house on the 9th floor, Wei Lizho stood at the stairs and asked Yui Ching in a low voice. You don't want to have dinner with them, so you lied to her that you have already eaten. Yui Ching. I thought it was an obvious fact, and I didn't need to ask it again. Wei Lizho frowned with some annoyance. Then what are you going to eat tonight? Do you plan to not eat? Yui Ching. There is something called instant noodles in this world. Seeing that Wei Lizho wanted to speak again, Yui Ching said first. Okay, you can go back. Seeing Yui Ching's expression of not wanting to say more, Wei Lizho had no choice but to swallow what he wanted to say. After Wei Lizho returned to the car, he felt slightly depressed. The scenery outside the car window kept flashing by. Wei Lizho frowned and looked out the window. Suddenly, as if he thought of something, his eyes lit up instantly, and his brows and eyes relaxed slightly. As soon as Yui Ching returned to Yu's house, he entered his room. He was consolidating various stock data in the computer, but the phone on the table suddenly rang. Yui Ching took a look at the phone, and saw that it was an unfamiliar call. He frowned suspiciously, and connected the call. Excuse me, is this Mr. Yu? Your takeaway has been delivered downstairs, please come downstairs and get it. Yui Ching. Did you make a wrong call? I didn't order takeaway. Mr. Wei Lizho ordered takeaway, and he said it was for you. Got it, I'll go get it now. Yui Ching hung up the phone and was walking down the stairs when he suddenly received a message from Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho. Don't be too touched, father's love is like a mountain, father loves you. Yui Ching read the message for a while, then suddenly chuckled, and said in a low voice, it really is an idiot. He doesn't pay attention to the desire of tongue. The reason why he chooses instant noodles is just to save trouble and convenience. After Yui Ching got the food from the delivery staff, he glanced at the notes on the delivery list. After delivering to the 1st floor, just make a phone call. Yui Ching looked at the note, his eyes like ice. Cold agate softened for a moment, and a faint smile reflected on his cold brows. The reason why Wei Lizho made such a note was because he was worried that after the takeaway was delivered to Yu's house, it would be intercepted by Yu's mother and the others first. Wei Jia. Wei Lizho was half lying on the bed in his room, and saw that the order on his mobile phone had been delivered. But Yu Yiqing didn't respond to any message for a long time, and he couldn't help being a little entangled. Yu Yiqing should eat the takeaway he sent, right? Wei Lizho carefully read the message he sent to Yu Yiqing just now, rubbed his chin and said, "This tone is quite relaxed, it shouldn't burden him, right?" After thinking about it for a while, Wei Lizho simply threw the phone aside and explained to himself, "It's normal that Yu Yiqing didn't reply to the message." As soon as he finished speaking, the phone vibrated suddenly. Wei Lizho hurriedly took the phone, swiped open the screen and saw that it was the message from Yu Yiqing. Yu Yiqing. Treat you to dinner tomorrow. Seeing this reply, Wei Lizho instantly understood that Yu Yiqing must have eaten his takeaway. With the corners of his mouth raised, he immediately replied a message to Yu Yiqing. Wei Lizho. Can I use this meal to replace 2 less papers on the weekend? After Yu Yiqing saw the news, he gave a low laugh and didn't intend to reply, but the phone rang again soon. Wei Lizho. Don't pretend you didn't see it, I know you must have seen the message now. A smile flashed across Yu Yiqing's eyes, but he still put the phone aside, ignoring Wei Lizho's request. After Wei Lizho sent several messages in a row, he sent them again, only to find that a red exclamation mark appeared on the chat interface between him and Yu Yiqing, followed by a system prompt, "The other party refuses to accept your message." Yi Panbai was watching TV in the living room at home. When he heard the vibrating sound of a message from his mobile phone, he opened it and saw Wei Lizho constantly chatting with Yu Yiqing in their group. Wei Lizho. You actually blocked me. Wei Lizho. You are so ruthless. Cold-blooded and ruthless. Unreasonable. Yi Panbai. Wei Lizho did something stupid again. Yi Panbai. Why is there no function to mute the group leader? Ling Heek. +1, as soon as Yi Panbai and Ling Heek sent out the news, they saw their own chat interface showing that they had been banned by Wei Lizho for 12 hours. Thus, Yi Panbai received a private chat message from Ling Heek for the first time after he and Ling Heek had been at the same table for so long. Ling Heek. Why did you and Yu Yiqing choose Wei Lizho as the team leader? Ling Heek really couldn't understand Yi Panbai and Yu Yiqing's decision. Yi Panbai covered his head with his head and covered his face. He said, "Heaven's sins are forgivable, but self-inflicted sins are unforgivable." This is not the first time he has regretted his original decision. What he has suffered now is his blessing. The next day. After school, the classroom. Knowing that Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing planned to go to the cafeteria for dinner, Yi Panbai couldn't help being a little puzzled. Yi Panbai looked at Wei Lizho. Don't you usually go home for dinner? Why are you planning to eat in the cafeteria today? Jiahai International School provides boarding services, and there are many boarders in the school. Therefore, the cafeteria will provide dinner and various suppers. Wei Lizho showed off. Yu Yiqing treats you. Wei Lizho was worried about burdening Yu Yiqing, so he offered to ask Yu Yiqing to treat him to a meal in the cafeteria. Yi Panbai glanced at Yu Yiqing in surprise. Yu Yiqing invited Wei Lizho. Did he hear correctly? Is Yu Yiqing such a warm and hospitable person? Yu Yiqing picked up the packed school bag, got up and said to Wei Lizho, "Are you still going?" Wei Lizho grabbed his school bag. "Any time." Yi Panbai looked at the backs of the two of them leaving the classroom, still confused. Yi Panbai originally thought it was just a coincidence, but seeing Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing having dinner in the cafeteria after school for several days before returning home, Yi Panbai was even more confused. Is there anything appealing and unique about dinner in the cafeteria? Lunch break. Seeing that Yu Yiqing and Ling Heek were not there, Yi Panbai turned around and asked Wei Lizho, who was playing with his mobile phone. Why did you and Yu Yiqing go home after dinner in the cafeteria for several days in a row? Wei Lizho raised his head. You really want to know? Yi Panbai. Nonsense. Otherwise, why would I ask you? Wei Lizho had a teasing smile on his brows and eyes. I really want to know. Yes. Yi Panbai rolled his eyes. He, I didn't tell you. Wei Lizho showed a triumphant smile of a successful prank. This is related to Yu Yiqing's privacy, so he will not tell anyone casually. Yi Panbai took a deep breath, and looked at Wei Lizho with a half-dot smile. Wei Lizho, do you usually drink alcohol? I might have some drinks with my family during the holidays. What's the matter? It's nothing, just remember to inform me before drinking next time. I will beat you up when you are drunk. Yi Panbai said through gritted teeth. Ha ha ha. Wei Lizho burst into laughter instantly. Yi Panbai couldn't beat him head-on, and actually planned to launch a sneak attack. Seeing Wei Lizho laughing non-stop, Yi Panbai glared at Wei Lizho. Is that so funny? Wei Lizho tried his best to suppress his smile, and looked at Yi Panbai solemnly. For the sake of the relationship between the two of us at the front and back tables, I advise you to give up your heart. Yi Panbai snorted coldly. What, are you scared? Wei Lizho stretched out an index finger and shook it, afraid. How is it possible? I'm worried for you. Seeing that Yi Panbai looked at him very intently, Wei Lizho said in a serious voice. Have you ever heard of drunken master? I'm afraid I'll make a mistake by drinking and make you come and go. After Wei Lizho finished speaking, he couldn't help laughing out loud, and slapped the table several times. You are so capable, why don't you say that you can do light work and swim on water? Yi Panbai said bitterly. I advise you to watch less martial arts movies, and don't make your mind foolish. There was still a smile on Wei Lizho's handsome and bright eyebrows. Don't worry, no matter what, I will never be stupider than you. When Ling Heek returned to the classroom, Yi Panbai was looking angry, stuffing potato chips one by one into his mouth, while Wei Lizho was humming a ditty happily. As soon as Ling Heek saw this picture, he immediately guessed that his deskmate was probably mad at Wei Lizho again. Ling Heek so what is the significance of Yi Panbai's repeated defeats? Every time he is angry with himself. Friday. When the test papers for the physics quiz were issued, Yi Panbai found that Wei Lizho once again got a higher score than him. Since Yu Yiqing started to make up lessons for Wei Lizho, Yi Panbai found that Wei Lizho's grades began to rise in a straight line. And among the 4 people here, my grades gradually tended to be at the bottom. Because Wei Lizho was at the bottom before, Yi Panbai didn't feel much about these exams. But now he feels that if he doesn't take steps, sooner or later he will be left behind by these 3. During the class break, Yi Panbai and Wei Lizho went to the bathroom, and when they were walking in the corridor, Yi Panbai suddenly said to Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho, I want to ask you something, but you have to make sure you don't make a fuss. Wei Lizho looked determined. You underestimate my concentration too much, don't you? Brother Wei, I can't look the same when Mount Tai collapses in front of me. After Wei Lizho finished speaking, he boasted, I'm really more and more educated now. Yi Panbai. Yi Panbai. Since you said so, then I'll ask. Tell me, if I also want Yu Yiqing to be my tutor, will he agree? What? Wei Lizho's complexion changed instantly. You actually want to rob him with me? I knew you were really upset and kind. Yi Panbai that he shouldn't have believed Wei Lizho's nonsense. Yi Panbai curled his lips. Why are you so resistant? I won't give you money. Wei Lizho. Humph. It's not allowed anyway. Wei Lizho didn't know why, when he thought that Yu Yiqing might try his best to tutor Yi Panbai like he did to him, he felt a little resistance in his heart. Seeing that Wei Lizho reacted so strongly, Yi Panbai retorted. Why can you go to Yu Yiqing, but I can't go to him? It's not like I won't give you money. Wei Lizho snorted coldly, because Yu Yiqing is my desk mate, why don't you go to Ling He to give you extra lessons? His grades are only worse than Yu Yiqing's in the class. Yu Yiqing and Ling He were called to the office by the head teacher just now. Walking up from behind them at this time, they happened to hear their dispute. Yi Panbai heard what Wei Lizho said, and asked back. Then why don't you let Ling He make up lessons for you, he is still your child? Wei Lizho was choked by his words, his mind turned quickly, suddenly a flash of inspiration flashed, and he said proudly. I already have Yu Yiqing, so I don't need Ling He. Yu Yiqing. I don't know what to say, is this an honor or a misfortune? Yu Yiqing glanced at Ling He beside him out of the corner of his eye, and saw that Ling He, who used to be as calm as a cloud, rolled his eyes in a rare way. Seeing that Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai hadn't realized their existence, Yu Yiqing had a rare kindness and coughed lightly. Wei Lizho turned his head and saw that Yu Yiqing and Ling He were only one step away from him. Wei Lizho was a little surprised and said, Why are you here? Ling He raised his eyelids and glanced at him, and said coldly. If it weren't for being here, I wouldn't know you despise me so much. Wei Lizho instantly remembered what he said just now. He became embarrassed belatedly, and he smiled flatteringly at Ling He. Is it too late for me to withdraw those words now? Ling He. What do you think? Wei Lizho. Actually, Yi Panbai also said it just now, and he said it no less than me. Wei Lizho decisively chose to divert the disaster to the east, and dragged Yi Panbai into the water together. Yi Panbai stared at Wei Lizho, and squeezed out a voice through his teeth. Wei Lizho, you are so smart. Wei Lizho whispered to him. I didn't do it on purpose, it's better to die as a teammate than to die as a poor man. Two idiots. Ling He bypassed them and walked towards the classroom. Yu Yiqing followed suit. Yi Panbai looked at Wei Lizho, gritted his teeth and said, Since you are unkind, don't blame me for being unrighteous. I'll ask Yu Yiqing about making up lessons, even if you object, it's useless. After Yi Panbai finished speaking, he took great strides to catch up with Yu Yiqing. Yi Panbai, stop. Wei Lizho hurriedly chased after Yi Panbai. As their figures gradually walked away, a person slowly walked out from the shadow at the corner of the corridor. Yu Weiyun stood where Wei Lizho and the others stood just now, looking at the figures of Wei Lizho and the others who had gone away. The bright sunlight shines softly on Wei Lizho and the others through the corridor windows. Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai were chatting and making noise around Yu Yiqing. Although Yu Yiqing had a cold expression on his face, he also condoned their noise. They seemed to be shrouded in spotlights, and many people in the corridor secretly focused their attention on them. However, they don't seem to be aware of this, or perhaps take it for granted. Yu Weiyun looked at this picture, the jealousy and gloom in his eyes kept surging. Does Yu Yiqing like to show off so much? Why couldn't he just hide in the corner like he did in the past 10 years? Yu Weiyun resisted Yu Yiqing's changes from the bottom of his heart. He clenched his hands tightly, his fingertips dug deep into the flesh of his palm. Since Yu Yiqing made him uncomfortable, then Yu Yiqing shouldn't feel better either.